Welcome to the October 19th City Council meeting. Commissioner Smith, if you give us the pledge, prayer, and call to the day.
Let us in the attitude of prayer. Our Father God, we come once again to say thank you for the many blessings that thou hast bestowed upon us. We thank you, Father, for this opportunity for us to be servants of this community. We ask, O Lord, that all that we say and do is pleasing and acceptable in thy sight. We pray, Heavenly Father, as we celebrate and commemorate this Breast Cancer Month. Oh God, we pray for all those that are recovering, those families that have lost loved ones due to this disease. We pray for their strength. We pray for those, oh God, that are affected by the hurricane. This we pray in thy Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fact of the day. On October 19, 1781, the Americans defeat the British at Yorktown, Virginia. Trapped at Yorktown, British General Lord Cornwallis surrendered 8,000 British soldiers and seamen to a larger Franco-American force, effectively bringing to an end the American Revolution. Fact of the day.
All right. Got 2 sets of minutes for a motion to approve unless we need any changes. Sorry.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson. Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Got 3 presentations on the sheet. I think it says only have 2. We got Apopka Youth Work or Youth Councils coming up. Dr. Jackson's going to lead us off on this one.
Mayor, Dr. Shekinah Harris Jackson. Today I have with me the Apopka Youth Council for the 2022-23 school year, and I'm excited to introduce you all to them. Andrew Phillips, Ariana. I'm going to go through and I'm just going to say their first name. Let's hold the claps if you don't mind. I have Ariana with me, Beatrice, Brady, Darren, Jade, Jemiah, James, Kendall, Lane, Logan, Madison, Olivia, Richard, and Sarah. So today we had our meet and greet. Thank you to those that were able to join us for pizza today. Today was our first meeting, so they have some wonderful things in store for the community. I can't wait to share with you all. If you don't mind, do you mind getting a picture with them real quick, commissioners? Sure. Tall people? It's okay.
Yeah, right there, right there.
All right, let's get one row down on the knee.
Listen up here. Yeah, one
One more, Rachel.
Yeah, that's good. We're here. We're here.
All right. Good.
All right. We both have work safe. We're going.
I think they're going to come back to us next council meeting with what their project, their year project's going to be. So we're excited to see what they have to offer. Next up, the interchange at 429 and Binion Road. Pam.
I wanted to just introduce this project. These are my colleagues from CFX. We have David Falk, Kevin Kamara, and Greg Seidel. Kevin's a CFX project manager. I'm sorry, David's the project manager. Kevin is the PIO, and Greg is the consultant, the contract guy, the guy that does the work. So
Wow, that was
he does the
brutal.
heavy lifting part of the project. Anyway, we have been engaged with CFX. Mayor, has it been about a year? When CFX was here last year, they came and said, what projects do you have for our program next year? And the mayor and I sat down and we looked and we sent over 3 projects, and 2 of them they poo-pooed. But one of them they said, this one has some real promise. And they sent it off to their group that looks at the financial feasibility, and they said, yes, indeed, this is a project. And I'm talking about the half interchange that's going to be constructed near Boy Scout on Binion Road. So it's funded through construction. Right now, they're at the PD&E phase, and they're going to tell you where we are on that. But it's a good partnership. We have another partner in this project, and it's the Ridge, the development, because they have graciously rearranged their site so that we can get the ramps in, get it lined up, get a signal or whatever traffic control we're going to put there. But I just wanted y'all to know there's been a lot of work that's going into this, and it's a strong partnership with CFX. So I'm going to let them do their presentation, then you can ask them any questions that you want.
Thank you, Pam.
All right. Let's see. All right. Good afternoon, Mayor Nelson and members of the council. My name is David Falk. I'm the project manager for the State Road 429, Binion Road Project Development and see if that's a little better. The volume.
See if we can raise it up, Pam.
The volume. If there's
Oh,
a-
I think maybe.
The lectern.
Does it go up more?
Yeah.
or that's, oh, look at that, fancy.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to-
We're fancy around here now.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much. All right, yeah. Good afternoon, Mayor Nelson, members of the council. My name is David Falk, and I'm project manager for the State Road 429 Binion Road Interchange Project Development and Environment, or PD&E study, being conducted by the Central Florida Expressway Authority. On behalf of CFX, I'm here to provide you an update on this study. Each year, we at CFX prepare our 5-year work plan based on the existing and anticipated needs of the communities in our 5-county region. Updates to our work plan are then brought before our governing board for approval. Our current work plan, which covers fiscal years 2023 through 2027, totals over $4 billion, the largest in our agency's history. Projects included in our work plan are typically a product of our long-term planning effort, referred to as our master plan. We are currently in the PD&E study phase of a Level 1 Project Environmental Impact Report, otherwise known as a PEER, which allows for a more detailed preliminary engineering environmental evaluation to identify a recommended preferred alternative that can be advanced to the next phase, which is design. On a large-scale PD&E project, such as a new alignment, we follow the project development process outlined on this slide. For projects of a smaller scale, like a capacity improvement or new interchange, such as this project, the study phases of the process are condensed and therefore fast-tracked, as is the case for the project being brought before you tonight. The project goals and objectives, which correlate to the project purpose and need, include promoting regional connectivity, enhancing mobility of the area's growing population and economy by providing additional transportation infrastructure, providing consistency with local plans and agencies, including local, state, and regional plans, excuse me, as well as close coordination with future land use development. And lastly, identifying transportation mobility options and programs that could meet future demand. The study is investigating the viability of advancing the project. The PD&E study process allows for more detailed blending of preliminary engineering, environmental analysis, and public involvement, and involves the development of several engineering and environmental documents to support the decision-making process. This is a systematic evaluation of viable alternatives that identifies a preferred alternative. Stakeholder input is an important aspect of the PD&E study process, as the concept study alternatives are re-examined in order to develop viable solutions that meet the project purpose and need, while minimizing impacts to social, natural, cultural, and physical resources. The environmental analysis will include measures to avoid and/or mitigate impacts. Now let's talk about the study area and key features. The outline of the study area boundary is shown on this map in orange. The study area runs along the vicinity of South Binion Road and Boy Scout Road, east of State Road 429. Currently, for drivers traveling between the intersection of South Binion Road and Boy Scout Road, they must either travel approximately 3 miles to the north to just past US 441 at the State Road 429 Connector Road interchange in order to get on State Road 429, or travel 3 miles to the south to the interchange at Apopka Road, also known as County Road 437A. This new interchange would provide additional access, for example, connection to the hospital. Through coordination with the City of Apopka staff, the State Road 429 Binion Road interchange has been added to our current work plan, is fully funded for all phases from PD&E all the way through construction. The 6-month study phase includes analyzing intersection alternatives and improvements along with access management modifications. We are in the process of evaluating 2 intersection alternatives, the first being a traditional signalized intersection. The existing T intersection of South Binion Road at Boy Scout Road would be realigned to the south and a 4th leg added to the west, creating a plus intersection. Drivers entering and exiting the northern section of State Road 429, also known as the Wekiva Parkway, would then traverse the new signalized intersection. The second alternative evaluates implementation of a single-lane roundabout intersection. Drivers entering and exiting the northern section of State Road 429 would navigate through the roundabout intersection. This alternative provides additional benefits when compared to the signalized option, including reduced travel time delays at the intersection, fewer stops, and fewer conflict points for through traffic. The study team can be contacted through the options shown on the screen. Please feel free to either contact Kevin Kamara or Greg Seidel with any questions or comments that you may have as the study progresses. A web page has also been created for this study and is located at the CFX website under Agency Information, PD&E Studies. Our next step in this process will be to hold a public information meeting. This will be held at Apopka High School on Thursday, November 3rd from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to present the State Road 429 Binion Road Interchange PD&E study to this evening. At this time, I'd be happy to address any questions or comments you may have.
Okay, any questions for David or the team?
I had one. So this is only going to allow access if you're heading north, basically. You can't head south on this.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a reason? I guess there is a reason. What was the logic, I guess, behind it?
So part of the reason is that directly to the south of here, we have the State Road 414 interchange with 429. So the closely get spaced ramps in there, you're just not able to fit that in.
Gotcha.
But you do have, if you want to head east on 414, you can travel over to Martin and be able to get on there, or you can go down to 437A in order to travel south as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
So does you have a preference whether it's a roundabout or a signal intersection?
No, they honestly perform similarly in the design year, which is 2045, based on our analysis that we've done. So it's really a matter of preference onto, what the city would prefer, because, you'll be the maintaining agency of the intersection itself in the end.
Well,
Commissioner Banks?
you know what I prefer there. I prefer the roundabout. It's less expense going in, less upkeep, but I also don't like having to stop any more than I have to. So, but I know for some that are not used to that, as you've expressed, it's a little bit of a challenge. But once you get used to those, there's just a real convenience about it, I think. And I guess the question for me is how much traffic is going to be there and how much anticipated in the future. If there's too much traffic, I think roundabout becomes confusing to people. So.
Correct. And based on the 2045 outlook that we've done for it, both of them operate, as they should. We're not, exceeding the volumes that would be allowable for a roundabout as well.
I just appreciate the work on this. Of course, shout out to Pam. She always works real hard on this. So excited about this option, especially access to the hospital. That's big.
Yes, for sure.
Commissioner Velasquez?
Well, I'm impressed, but what really impressed me was fully funded. So I'm looking forward, I'm gonna show up for the Thursday, November 3rd meeting. And as far as the roundabout or the traffic light, I guess as the time comes, Pam will decide what's probably best for that intersection, because the roundabout is good. It slows the traffic down, but when you have an excessive amount of cars traveling and trying to get around that roundabout, it can also be kind of confusing.
Correct.
So-
Yeah, it's a learning curve initially for a roundabout.
But by the time that becomes a reality, we'll know the trips, right, of the traveling of the.
Correct. Yeah, we'll have better volume estimates at that point. We have draft ones that we've done at this point in order to do the evaluation. But as the project moves forward, we'll have better data.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Thank you.
great. Well, thank you. And tell Glenn Prestamo and Laura Kelly we said hi, and thank you for this great partnership along with the Ridge that, without the three partners, obviously this would never have happened. Yeah, and thank you, Pam, for running shotgun on this one for us.
I think, David, you left out one really important thing.
sorry?
You did say that it's funded, but
Yes.
it's funded. The important part is design is funded in this fiscal year and construction in the next fiscal year. So this is not something that's 20 years out. This is
Correct.
on our horizon right now.
Yeah, within our 5-year outlook out to 2027, it's fully funded for all phases.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Okay. Pam, I guess you're up again next.
Okay.
Apopka Ocoee Road Corridor Study.
This is, I've asked them to stay in case there are any joint questions. We've been working on a study on Ocoee Apopka Road. This is the piece from Harmon Road North to Hawthorne, okay, because we've changed it a bunch of times. VHB, Nikki Melendez is here from VHB, and our partner from Orange County, Brian Sanders, who's also working on this project with us. We're looking at the 4-laning of that segment. It's separate from the southern piece. And Nikki is here to present the findings and kind of what we're looking at as we move forward in the near future to widening. So Nikki, with that, I will let you.
Thank you, Pam. No, it's perfect. Yep. I'm just going to get my bearings on this. All right. So thank you, Pam. As she mentioned, I'm Nikki Melendez. I am the consultant project manager for the Ocoee Apopka Road Corridor Study. All right. So this presentation is going to be brief. It's going to give you an overview of the study. We're going to talk about a summary of the existing and future conditions analysis that we performed, and then we're going to go over the study recommendations, which is a phased approach, and close out with next steps. All right, so as Pam mentioned, this is Apopka Road from Harmon Road to Hawthorne Avenue. It is County Road 437A, so that's where the partners come in at Orange County. It's a length of approximately 1.7 miles, and the objective for this study going in was to look at widening from 2 lanes to 4 lanes to not only provide for the existing users on the corridor, but also all the future developments coming in. All right, so this study followed a general study process for corridor studies. We started with our existing and future conditions analysis, moved into developing alternatives to address the issues and opportunities that we identified. And then we analyzed those alternatives, compared them, and then created a finalized concept on our preferred alternative. So outreach has been important throughout the study process. When we began earlier this year, we started with key stakeholder interviews with the hospital to the south, the local fire station, as well as the fire department fire chief. And we got some feedback from them on what they feel the issues in the area are today. Then we held, at the end of the existing and future conditions analysis, we held a virtual public meeting where we presented those findings to the public and asked them for their input and also what they felt the issues were for the corridor. In general, the locals were very much in support of the widening and what we were proposing just initially. Now, we ran a study website throughout the process of the study, which we kept updating, uploaded any project documents, and accepted comments throughout the study process. And as you can see, we are in that final step, and we are looking to complete the study by the end of this year. So looking at existing roadway characteristics today, Apopka Road is a 2-lane road with 1 lane in each direction. There's sporadic sidewalks in the area, no bike lanes, no link stops, very limited lighting. There's some overhead utilities along the west side, as well as several underground utilities. The right-of-way here is about 60 to 120 feet ranging. The majority is about 90 to 120 feet, but there are some constrained sections up near the Boy Scout Road intersection, as well as that segment between 13th Street and Hawthorne Avenue. So when we do these studies, we look at contextually what's going on around the corridor. So not just who's using it every day, but who's using it in the future as well. So we know today there's the Advent Health Apopka towards the southwest, and there's also a distribution center along the corridor. However, there's some planned improvements coming in. We've got both residential and mixed use coming in near the Boy Scout Road intersection. There's also some non-residential developments and some residential on Martin Road. So there's lots of activity in the area. There's also planned improvements that are already underway. There's the Harmon Road extension, which is under construction now, and it will include a signal at the Harmon Road and Apopka Road intersection. There's also a Martin Road signal that's expected to start construction early next year. And then, as we just learned, the State Road 429 interchange at Binion Road, which, as we know, is in the PD&E study phase and funded through construction. And also on this map, we don't want to forget the Apopka Downtown Trail System, which is coming in up there near Michael Gladden and Hawthorne Avenue. So that's something else to keep in mind for connecting trails. So when we do a future conditions analysis, we select a future year. In this case, we looked at 2045 conditions. And first we analyze a no-build scenario. So all of those planned improvements that we just saw on the last slide, except we're not changing anything on Apopka Road, and we want to know what's going to happen. What are the operations? So a good way to represent that is through levels of service, which is very similar to grades in school, where A is passing grade and F is a failing grade. So what we found is that from the Boy Scout Road intersection up to 13th Street is going to be at failing operation, level of service F, which is very congested. And we've also had from 13th Street to Bradshaw at a level of service E, which is approaching failing conditions. We also analyzed that the same 2045 conditions, but with a widened corridor, and that we can see much better results. That same segment from Boy Scout Road up to 13th Street would be operating at a level of service C, which is much better, and 13th to Bradshaw at level of service D, which is acceptable level of service. So how do we get there, and what does that look like? Our study identified a three-phase approach. I will explain each phase, what segments they are, and why they were selected. Phase 1 is the widening of Apopka Road from Harmon Road to 13th Street. And the reasoning for this selection of that segment is really to complement the agreement that's already in place with the Ridge development, and that it matches the same segment for the widening of this road. So we are recommending that be a 4-lane typical section divided with a raised grass median, including a 10-foot multi-use path, 6-foot sidewalk, and curb and gutter throughout. We're also recommending new signals at the future, the future spine roads that's going to come in from the development of the Ridge, as well as the intersection of Boy Scout Road. Drainage can be supported for phase 1 with just modifications to the existing CFX ponds so that they can be joint use ponds. Anticipated right-of-way impacts for phase 1 is roughly 2.29 acres, and there are no relocations associated with that. And the estimated construction cost for phase 1 is about $15 million. So this is a photo of Apopka Road today, just north of Boy Scout Road looking northeast. And this is what it could look like in the future with the phase 1 improvements. All right, so moving on to phase 2. This is a trail along Apopka Road from 13th Street to Hawthorne Avenue. The reasoning for this is really to provide a connection between the trail in phase 1 and the Apopka downtown trail system that's coming in at Michael Gladden Boulevard and Hawthorne Avenue, and that's expected to start construction at the end of this year. So the connection would be provided in the interim of phase 3, which I'll talk about next. So this would be providing a trail within that. So as you can see on the typical section, there's a 60-foot of right-of-way, and that trail would fit within existing right-of-way. It would have to be installed where there's currently open drainage ditches. So we would have to add curb and piping to make that a closed drainage system and provide room for the trail. So the anticipated right-of-way impacts is about 1/2 acre, and that is within that city parcel that's right at the corner of Hawthorne Avenue and Apopka Road. And that's really just to avoid impacts to utilities. Today, the sidewalk that's there is already within the city property. And so the estimated construction cost for phase 2 is at about $2 million. All right, and phase 3. Phase 3 would be the widening of Apopka Road from 13th Street to Hawthorne Avenue. Now, as previously mentioned, this section is very constrained. It's about 60 feet of right-of-way. Today, there is houses along the east side of the roadway and businesses along the west side of the roadway, making it a little bit more difficult to provide a widened roadway without impacts. So we feel that it needs more extensive analysis performed to determine what's an appropriate alignment to go forward. But however, we have recommended a typical section. We're looking at a 5-lane section with a bidirectional center turn lane. And again, the reason for that is the multiple properties in the area, the multiple driveways, just continuing to provide access that's appropriate for that area. And this typical would, again, provide the 10-foot wide multi-use path and the 6-foot sidewalk. And additionally, we are recommending a new signal at the Bradshaw Road intersection as part of this phase 3. So we do have a study concept, and that is of phases 1 and 2. We have that available on the project website. That's ocoeapopkaroadstudy.com. We're asking the public to review it and also provide feedback. We're going to leave it up till about October 28th. That way we can wrap up any feedback we have and include that in our study results. So next steps, just like the recommendations are in 3 phases, so are the next steps. Phase 1, if we finish the study at the end of this year, it could move into design next year, with design ending by the end of next year, and then construction starting around summer 2024. But that's totally dependent on funding and when it's available to start. Phase 2, it is that trail section, so we're going to recommend that design and construction phase be explored for funding through the Apopka downtown trail system. So that's a method for moving that forward. And then phase 3 will require additional analysis before moving any further. So with that, I thank you so much for taking your time to listen to me, and any questions you have, I'm happy to answer.
Commissioner Velasquez, any questions?
No, no.
Commissioner Mason?
Which side was the 10-foot section or 10-foot pathway on?
Along the west side.
Commissioner Smith?
Well, I'm excited to
Yes.
see this project coming forth. One thing that I've been very adamant about as far as safety is concerned, and I like what I see thus far, but I'm still concerned about the other part of Apopka Road from Emerson to the 429. And I noticed that wasn't a part of the project, but I'm
Yeah.
excited about what you're doing, and I say thank you for what you've already done.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Nesta?
Couple questions. The 15 million that we estimated cost, does that include right-of-way purchasing?
It does not include right-of-way purchasing, but it does include the drainage improvements and all of the design or construction costs for the roadway.
Okay. For the trail, we're saying that we already own the half acre already?
Yes.
So that's nothing so the 2 million is pretty accurate to what we'll actually spend
Yes.
on that one. Is it an Orange County road currently?
Yes.
Have we discussed partnering aggressively with them, or where's the comfort level there?
That's a Pam question.
We haven't signed an agreement with the county. My partner Brian's here, he can talk. We've kind of divided the project into a couple pieces. We're taking 13th Street south to Harmon Road. And the county right now, y'all already funded there's some stormwater issues, Commissioner Smith, you're aware of this, on the north end. And Orange County, I think, is close to immediately going to fix those. They've already found funding to fix that. So that'll be a major thing. You know, those folks that live along there, they have an unnatural lake in their backyard from time to time. So it's something that the county is looking forward to do. So to answer your question, yes, we meet on this project every week. I meet with the county. So I would say, yes, it's an excellent partnership. And everything that we do, we run through them. We'll run design, and we will make the best decisions for both jurisdictions. The plan in the end is, once the road's fixed, that the city will take the road.
Okay. And then so south of Harmon then is still going to be Orange County?
No, there's another project. South of Harmon, in front of the hospital, is already 4 lanes. And then
Right.
when you get down to about Austin Bay Boulevard, that is another project that is not going through this process. We are in design right now. And we're working with the developers on both sides of the road to get that funded. You know that there's that unnamed grocer that'll go on the northeast corner of Keene and Ocoee, Apopka. The signal there, it might come before the road widening, but the signal's going in. And we're going to widen just south of Keene for the transition all the way up to Austin Bay Boulevard. So we're actually going to, in the end, we're going to take from Keene Road to as far up as, I think from now we have Hawthorne is where we start. Hawthorne to Bradshaw, I think Hawthorne. Ultimately, we're going to take all that when everything's fixed.
Okay. And have you've built this into our budget already, or more so in the next?
I have in our CIP for this year, I put $1 million to assist with some of the design and some of the other less expensive things. I haven't funded construction yet. I would think construction will be funded and we'll start funding it next year and put money in each year. I have to wait till we collect the impact fee money. So I don't want to get ahead of what we got. So one thing at a time. Study, design as soon as they finish. And we do have a small piece of right-of-way to acquire. Some of it's coming from the county and some is coming from another property, but I don't think it's going to be a huge expense.
Okay. And then to just echo again, it's a partnership between both
This
Orange County and
is
us.
probably one of the strongest partnerships we've had.
Excellent.
So
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Nikki or Pam? Well, thank you, Brian. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for being a part of this. They've been a great partner, Orange County. All the meetings we've been in already and we'll continue. And we want to make that a safer, more enjoyable trip between Apopka and getting on the interstate.
And are we able to get copies of
Expressway.
those, both of the CFX and that sent to us?
I'll send them to you tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you. Great.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. We'll let y'all, if y'all want to, we'll let y'all exit stage right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Agenda review. Edward, any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Mayor.
No changes. All right. We have 6
Public comment?
items on consent. Oh, I'm sorry, public comment. I'm sorry. Suzanne.
Okay, we're going to call Mr. Gregory Griffith.
I am ready. Okay, I want to give acknowledgement to Mr. Mayor and to the representative of the county commissioners here, and special recognition to Nick Nestor and to Doug Bankson, Diane Velasquez, who have come out to our property at Clear Lake Estates to review the situation. My name is Gregory Griffith, and my address is in the Clear Lake subdivision in Apopka. And the video that you're kind of looking at is something I put together real short after, most of it was after Hurricane Ian. We've been having a situation with rising water in the Apopka, in our Clear Lake area for 5 years now. And Clearwater Lake has finally crested. And now we've got a retention pond and Clear Lake that have joined together in one lake, completely submerging our property, playground area, gazebo area, walkway area. And from what I understand, we've got 65 trees that have been suffocated by the rising water. And as many of you have seen, we've got additional trees that have also fallen over, either fallen over or have died as a result of the rising water. As a matter of fact, in one of these pictures here, you'll see one of my neighbor's trees, 60-foot oak tree, just fell right over. As a matter of fact, Doug Bankson was standing on my lanai when it actually fell right over into the water. Quite an interesting thing. My basic purpose for being here today is at Friday's meeting over at Clear Lake Landing. Brian Nelson was there, Mayor Nelson was there, and he asked us to give him 2 weeks. He's going to put a program together, get some kind of direction together. And my basic reason for being here today is I'll give you those 2 weeks. This is week 1 is going to be on Friday. Week 2 is the next Friday. The question would be, what are you going to do? What's the plan? What's the progress? And where do we go from here? I moved to Apopka 16 years ago, and it was a little town. I asked my wife, I mean, do we really want to move to a small place like this? We're from New York. We moved to Orlando. Now we're moving out to Apopka, you know, a little one-horse town. I mean, you know, fern capital of the world. But since that time, I've seen Apopka explode. I've seen all of Central Florida explode. I've seen growth like I've never seen before, and I'm from New York. The problem is I see problems like this, not only in Apopka, but I see them all over Central Florida. Growth has exploded. We got a lot of people moving in. Some people say 1,000 people a week are moving into our area, into Central Florida. But is the infrastructure also growing to accommodate and handle this growth? From my standpoint, where I'm sitting, the answer would have to be no. If we're going to be a big city, if we're going to be a big place where we want people to be attracted and come in and enjoy our Apopka lifestyle, then we have to make up our mind, folks. We can't be a small town and a big city at the same time. Not going to work. We got to change our mindset. We've got to get on board with what it takes to be a big city. If I were in New York, if I was in Queens right now, this problem would have been taken care of. Mayor Nelson, you know, my wife and I, we've been to your office. We've talked about this in days gone by, years gone by now. There's nothing new. But here we are. Nothing's been done. I ain't mad at you, but I want to know what you're going to do. This is business. I want to know what you're going to do. We've got a tremendous problem. This problem is taking over, and you saw the problem on Friday. It's taking over the backyards. It's about to encroach on the homes of properties in Clear Lake Landing.
Okay.
So we've got to do it, and I want to know, when I come back in here next time,
Yep. You
I
got
want to
it.
know what the plan is going to be.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Chair. You got it.
All right, I yield my time.
Frank Campiazzo.
No. Good evening, Mayor and Council, Commissioners. I live at Clear Lake Landings, which is on the opposite side of the lake. I moved in there in 2016. From my backyard end to the lake was 70 feet. Now it's 12 feet into my backyard. Problem we have now, too, is, and I was talking to the mayor, they're saying about spraying, you know, I was talking, my concern is environmental. Because we're talking about, there's a rule 20 feet, don't spray by the lake. The problem is, our houses are all coming down. Our driveways all come down. So they're designed to kick off the driveway and go down between the houses and run down. So you got pesticides, you got anything in people's driveways, everything coming from the road, dumping into that. That's an environmental concern. We voiced our concerns to St. John's, that we haven't heard nothing back. This is a beautiful lake, and it's getting destroyed. My neighbor's fence, and if you probably saw in the picture, that was my neighbor's fence where the water was about almost to the top of it. I don't know what else to do or say, because we're at the point now where, you know, we're losing backyards, neighbors are losing, and then all of a sudden they build a big subdivision behind us, and they put a concrete overflow into our lake. Who approved that? When I went over there 2 days later after the storm, they were all sandbagged. And the water was up to that, so that tells me it was all pouring over. If you look at my neighbor's yards, there's some kind of red stuff. We don't even know what it is. There was blue-green stuff, looked like oil all mixed into the lake. This is becoming an environmental problem. I understand that, but we have to get back to get a drainage swale there. If we don't have swales, we're going to have another Lake Apopka. We're going to be dumping all that crap into the lake. There's got to be a solution. We've been dealing with it. My neighbor Eric, we've been doing drone, and I sent you the drone video, Nick. From that's the stuff we're dealing with. And if you look over that other one's already crested on the other side of the drainage on the one behind us, and now it's coming over. I don't know who would allow to put a spillover into a spring-fed. It's a spring-fed lake, too, on top of it. So basically, this is what happened. And our neighbors, we can't maintain nothing. I mean, look at the backyards. People can't even barely see. I've maintained my lakefront where I can at least get down. But my neighbor next door, they can't even maintain where the grass is already halfway up their yard and it's like this. Their fence is underwater. You know, I mean, I don't know what else we can do or say. I've been complaining since 2018. We've hired an attorney to go after the developer because there was a letter from the developer from St. John's saying there's a good chance that those drainage swales will erode. And this was back before 2016. So they knew that was going to be an issue back then. But what happened was the developer supposedly dumped it back on the HOA because when you're the developer, you're the majority holder of all the empty lots. So he made that decision. So he knew there was an issue and dumped it on us. So now we're dealing with it as homeowners where, you know, our yards, it's ridiculous. To the point, probably if you watch the news, you see a gator swimming into the lake out of someone's backyard. That was my backyard. I got gators laying across the thing in my backyard now, coming up that far. That last storm, I stuck a stake in the ground. After the storm came through, from where I put the stake to then was 81 inches. That was almost 7 feet that water rose just from that storm. We're fortunate part of that Lake Apopka breaks a lot of storms up because if it doesn't over the summertime, those water would have been a lot worse than that. But we got to have a solution to put this water somewhere. So, you know, I'm speaking on behalf of my community. We're just frustrated about it by now because there's a house at the end of the road and the mayor was there too. The house is almost close to the water. The foundation's actually cracking on the back of the house from the patio back because the ground's eroding. Just because the water level's here, the ground's slushy walking to it. So that's telling you erosion's happening under the grass already too. So I'm coming here to represent my community, the lakefront owners. We're frustrated. Our drainage things are overflowed, almost overflowing in the middle of our retentions. The retention in the back is part of the lake now, the one they originally put in. So there's nowhere for that water to go. So now we have instead of the water holding for 72 hours, water sitting there 6 to 8 months at a time. So my concern now is St. John's gets on everything else. Is it acceptable to keep dumping those chemicals going directly in the lake? It's not that they're spraying close to the lake, it's the way they designed it. They designed it for all the water to kick off the driveways, come down and wash down to the lake. And I have videos, I didn't bring them up there, you could see the amount of water that used to flow. But they would sit in the swales would dry them up, but the swales started eroding within less than a year that I was there. And that developer knew that. He knew that was gonna happen and dumped it on us. So that is what it is at this point. We're just trying to voice our opinion of the city saying something needs to be done.
Okay,
And someone from St. John's needs to do something because they're the ones that signed off on it.
okay. We'll get the meeting together and we'll get everybody involved in that meeting,
Yeah,
including DEP and St. John's.
yeah, I appreciate it. But
Yeah,
like I
you
said,
bet.
because I know we talked about that,
Yeah,
the concern was that, you know, we were saying that, you know, where they were spraying wasn't bad, but it's a lot more than that. Everything's washing in and there's just a lot. Right now, after the storm, we don't know what some of the stuff is in this lake right now. There's red stuff, blue and green stuff. It wasn't there before. So most of it probably, my idea is it washed down from the job site on the other side and came over into our lake because they put that overflow there, which I don't know. And then we're talking about putting rest of the townhouses and then a K through 8 school down there. I mean, how's that gonna happen?
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, Dennis New? Can I just make one suggestion to the, Mr. Mayor, that at some point, I mean, we get to hear this every council meeting about Clear Lake Estates and Clear Lake Landings. And when they come to the next council meeting, I feel like I'm hearing it for the first time. So can we get some kind of update as 'cause obviously you are visiting the estates and the communities, but we're not getting an update. So I feel like I'm kind of out of the loop. So obviously, you said that he has visited you last Friday, and he has spoken with you, but I'll tell you, the council, for me anyway, we don't have any updates. So is there some way that we can get some kind of updates as you visit?
Sure.
So that we're aware of what, you know, what's being told to these community, because when they're calling us, we're not aware of it. And I would just like an update.
right.
Thank you.
Good to go? Okay. Dennis New, 105 West Magnolia Street, Apopka, Florida. I hope all the commissioners have taken the time to review the packet I gave you about code violations on city-owned property. The hypocrisy to me is astounding. I was going to discuss that today, but in the meantime, some events have changed. On October 4th and again on October 14th, the fire department ran an ad for the hiring process. I quote from both ads, "Applicants should be willing to passionately serve the Apopka community while embracing our established culture." I have concerns over the established culture. On June 30th, 2022, firefighter Duran was crushed by a trailer that should not have been in service because of design and safety concerns. On July 16th, Mr. Duran passed away from his injuries. His father presented a letter that Austin wrote in his first year and explained the culture in the department towards new personnel and training. He felt that if he said something, there would be retaliation or intimidation. In the last 5 years, the systemic failures of our fire department have greatly increased, and our once proud department's reputation has been degraded by senior personnel leaving or forced out. I was here when Merrill Nelson pointed out that he was replacing Chief Carnsdale with Mr. Wylam based on EMS billing and missing funds, which Mayor Nelson said would be investigated and prosecuted, to which nothing was ever disclosed or revealed as to what was done and what happened to transparency on that. I was present at the meeting when Mr. Wylam spoke or attempted to speak to the City Council in regard to staffing issues and budgets. Even being spoon-fed by you, the council members, it was difficult for Mr. Wylam to produce effective communications to the council's questions. Being I served 35 years in the fire department, many of them as an officer, as well as 15 of those teaching at the fire academy, as well as many court cases and investigations. All of these issues raised my concern about the safety of our department. In early August, I received a request to listen to a call that the fire department conducted on the evening of August 13th at 1867 Piedmont Park Boulevard. I requested a public information request of the audio tapes for the call. I had to make it several times, and I got a response that included a letter with a 15-day deadline that had long passed. I informed the city clerk I had never received the letter, provided her with the money order for $81.70 and a self-addressed stamped envelope for the CD. I finally got the CD and had time to listen to the recordings. The first arriving units to the fire did not establish command, a critical step in any incident. One of the district chiefs had been in an auto accident en route. This delay created a very serious safety issue with the scene. It was not until the arrival of the second district chief that command was established and proper safety procedures were established. This call, along with other occurrences, speaking with some firefighters who wish not to be named for fear of retaliation, has left me with the conclusion that the fire department has a systemic management problem with safety, with training, with morale, and trust towards the leadership of the department and the city. My concern is that adding staffing, we compound the real issue of training and safety. More people without proper training only adds to safety issues. We promoted personnel to training and safety, yet they come from the same culture which led up to firefighter Duran's death. Is that really what this city needs? To date, no one, not one person, has been held accountable for the issues plaguing our department. We promoted from within. We are attempting to hire, yet still not to NFPA standards, the very same standard that the department and the city quote on many occasions, such as Fire Prevention Week and changing the batteries in your smoke detectors. So I ask, why are standards good for one thing, but not for staffing? I ask, why has not one person
Thank
been
you,
held
Mr. Newt.
accountable?
Appreciate it.
I'm almost done. You let other people go over, Mayor, and I'm getting tired of getting cut off. I got a half a paragraph to go. I'm going to finish it, or you can have the police handcuff me and take me to jail. Why has one person not been held accountable for the failures that led up to Mr. Duran's death? Why is the person that sent him to move the trailer without training still employed? Why is Mr. Wylam in the position of fire chief still when the failures of this department are so great? I place the blame on these issues on poor management, all the way up to Mayor Nelson's office. Some things need to be changed and fixed before we have a mass injury or death incident involving our brave firefighters. Now I'm done.
Karen Wilcox.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Karen Wilcox. I am a homeowner in the Clear Lakes Landing Development. I've been a homeowner there for the past 5 years, and I really wanted to come and just share a voice to echo what our partners have already shared this evening. But I really began to notice about 3 years ago the loss of land in my backyard. I'm directly on the lake, and began to notice the erosion and encroachment of water. I now have over 50 feet of my backyard that is underwater. Earlier this year, I had my sprinklers system moved up to try to make certain that I was not sending any water into the lake. I had that done this year, and since the hurricane, where I lost another 8 or so feet underwater, those sprinklers that were significantly set back from the lake are now in the lake. And so I'm currently not even watering part of my lawn because I don't want to add to the water increase in the lake. So I just wanted to share as a homeowner, one of the things that I'm really challenged with at present. I love this development. I feel like our community, our HOA really cares. I was interested in extending and adding onto my home, adding value to it. And now I feel like it's on hold because I'm not certain, will we have a change in this water, or do I need to be concerned with extending anything out and being at risk? In talking with someone here this evening, they shared with me that there used to be a pipe, a drain that they were told, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I'd like to just introduce this question, that a pipe used to run that would drain the lake over into Mud Lake, and that it got damaged with some type of work was done on Binion Road. So I just would like to ask, as you all consider what might be done, I'm really hopeful because I love my community, but I also know that I'm at a crossroad. Do I stay and develop, or am I going to continue to lose, because I've continued to lose land consistently for the past 3 years, and I'm at a point where it's very concerning, the amount of land that's underwater. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Wayne Levesky.
Hi, I'm Wayne Levesque. I'm at 823 East Orange Street here in Apopka. And I'm here for 3 reasons. And excuse me for reading this. I want to make sure I get this right. I want to make a formal complaint against my neighbors, my next door neighbors on East Orange Street, and the surrounding properties in my neighborhood for having parties with loud music all hours of the day, night and early mornings on both weeknights and weekends with no respect for their neighbors. And I'm talking loud parties, not just music, loud. They park up and down our street in our vacant neighbor's driveway and on their front lawn. This past Saturday night, I came home from the concert at the amphitheater, which was great, by the way. And we had a good time. I come down my street, I couldn't even get to my house. They had teenagers parking cars on our street. They told me, oh, park over here. I don't think so. And this has been an ongoing problem for over a year and a half, and I have been very trying to deal with it. And it's due to the lack of an unenforceable noise ordinance in the city. When I try to be civil about it, I talk to my neighbors. And on Sunday, I went over there and knocked on their door to try to talk to them civilly about working this issue out. And they say to me, and I quote, "It's my house, call the police, they do nothing." The police have come out. They have been very nice and courteous. They have gone over there and talked to them to try to ask them to turn it down. They cannot tell them or demand them. I'm here to aggressively pursue an enforceable noise ordinance for the city limits and the residents, much like Orange County has. I have had another issue with a resident on Mason Street that was one address into the county. The city could not do nothing because they were in county. This was an ongoing issue with a major party, hundreds of people, loud music going on all times of the week, on the weekends. It took me a year and a half. Finally, the neighbors, we all got together and finally we contacted the county, Christine Moore, Orange County Sheriff's Office and Code Enforcement, and they enforced their code enforcement. And it took forever to finally get this to go under control. And I'd like to give you an example of this party. This was adjacent to my property. This goes on during the week. This went on during the week, on the weekends. Starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, goes on till 2 o'clock in the morning. So we finally, Orange County finally enforced their code enforcement rules and cited them for a second-degree misdemeanor with fines. And luckily, the past 2 months, it's been quiet, and there has been no more large parties over there to annoy all our neighbors. Okay, that's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed. I'm sure that's... The neighbors next to me are not quite as big as a party, but it's just as loud, and it goes on, it can be any given night. I could go home right now, tonight, and then they could be doing what they do. So 3, I'd like to ask for guidance from you on how I should handle my disrespectful neighbors going forward until an ordinance is in effect, or if it ever will be in effect. So I respectfully ask you, the city council members, how would you deal with this if it was your neighbor? I have called the police, like I said, 5 times over the past few months. And so what do? Do I continue to call them and waste their time because they can do nothing but ask them to turn it down? And as soon as they leave, it's right back up. And or do I fight fire with fire due to no ordinance? I don't want to do this. I'm better than that. So I have talked to a few of my neighbors on my street and behind our street on Magnolia Street, and they all are also very frustrated, the surrounding properties. They didn't want to come here tonight, but they did present a letter signed by the borderline neighbors around this particular residence, which I will submit to all you, about this problem. And there's also code violations on this particular property, but that's another story. So we got signatures on that. So also I would just like to quote, I looked up the ordinance on the city. And all it says is, no person shall make or create excessive, unnecessary, offensive sound within the city. That's pretty vague. We need something more enforceable.
More teeth.
And I don't know what more I can do. So I want to ask you, what do I do now until something goes into effect? Because this is going to go on again. So my hands are tied.
Yeah.
And so I would like to submit these. And I also have the Orange County ordinance that they enforce. I have a copy of it here. If you have not seen it, I'd like to submit it to all you to read it.
Michael's got 3 or 4 of them. He's trying to blend them together to make sure.
And the letter from the residences to show you. So something's got to give. And I've lived there 43 years. I love Apopka. It's a great neighborhood, but our surrounding area it's just getting wild. So,
thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it.
So is there any suggestions of what I need to do forward?
Michael Rodriguez is working on it, and so he's been out of pocket for a couple of days. But I'll have him. If you've got any suggestions, I'll have you come in and we'll talk to him as he kind of formulates.
Is we're working on it, or
yeah.
do I?
Oh yeah,
we will have
we'll have an ordinance. Yes.
And my other question was, what do I do forward until then? What do I
Well,
continue to do? Continue to call the police department? Fight fire with fire? I mean, I'm afraid to approach them because, you know, these things get wild and crazy, and I don't want, you know, to be hurt in the process.
Why don't you, Chief, you want to just step out with him, just give you some options? Okay. Thank you, Wayne.
Okay, would you mind if I?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just give them to
submit this to
Susan.
you?
She'll get them to us. Yeah, perfect.
This is the original copy.
Okay.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you for your attention.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you got one for Susan as well, that'd be great. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Anybody else, Susan? Is it? Okay. All right. On to, we got 6 consent agenda items. Does anybody need to have any of those pulled? If not, look for a motion to approve the 6 consent agenda items.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay. Next up, business item, Station Street Project, RFP. Jim?
You passed the last previous presentations. There we go. Jim Head, Community Development Director. This item is something that everybody has kind of seen before. About a year ago, we started going with the request for proposal for the downtown Apopka Station Street project. That was originally done back in August of 2021. And this did come before City Council for discussion. And on January 19th, 2022, the RFP was rejected with the intent to rebid. So that is exactly what we did. One of my goals was to be able to get this before our current City Council. And then when Mr. Bankson goes on to other things, we've got our next City Council member coming back in with Kyle Becker. So that way, both councils get a chance to see this proposal. But for tonight, what I'd like to do is the request for proposal did go out on August 28, 2022, and it was the RFP 2022-95 was the exact one. There was a inquiry deadline of originally September 18th at 11:30 p.m. And the e-bid submittal deadline was extended to October 3rd, 2022 as a Monday. The evaluation committee did meet to discuss the bid itself. That occurred on October 12th, 2022. And the recommendation for tonight, I'm going to go a little bit more information, is to approve staff to go and negotiate with the bidder itself. Part of the bid package itself, there was a few things that we did change a little bit in the bid package. We did have about 8 or 9 inquiries from the first bid that went out last year that were included in this bid. It had to do with brownfields, the acreage, the environmental report, a few things like that. So as a result, we really did not get any other inquiries into what else needed to be done with the property or other information that needed to be provided. We provided the original appraisal it was actually from 2019, so more than likely the appraisal price is probably over $1 million now because everything has been going up. We also included the survey, which included the potential for the vacate of a portion of Station Street and a portion of 5th Street. And that was all part of the program. The other thing that we did do, we identified the scope. We did identify residential uses as the primary use with subsequent commercial uses on the first floor. We don't know if that's possible or not, but the bid that came in did have some good discussion in regards to whether or not that's a feasible request. Language was also added to highly encourage the developer to hire contractors and subcontractors that are minority-owned businesses. That was part of the original package too last year. However, we put it in a couple different places so that it was prevalent, and we'd be able to see that pretty easily. So on the evaluation committee, we did meet. That consisted of myself, and that was a public meeting online. It was basically called a virtual meeting, and it was held, it was advertised also in OpenGov, and was open to the public to listen in. The overall final scoring for the Standard Investment and Holdings LLC, which was the submitter, was 84.6 points out of 105. All 5 members of the evaluation committee meeting are recommending that there is an intent to negotiate with the bidder.
Jim, can you go ahead and recognize the members of that board, just because I think it was a.
Getting there.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
So I was of course on the committee. Shakenya Jackson, she's our grants administrator. Nicole Kennedy is our sustainability coordinator. Kenneth Goodwin is the executive director for Homes in Partnership. Couldn't be a better person there. And Monique Morris, who is an Apopka, longtime Apopka citizen. The evaluation committee again reviewed and assessed the submittal itself with the scoring criteria for the solicitation and qualifications, the development team, and the quality design of the proposal itself, the value to the city, and the financial viability and financial return to the city. So there was about 7 different criteria for that. The proposal, some of the information, or some of the things that that were meant to be clarified and what we were going to be looking for in regards to the negotiation is that the appraisal itself.
Jim, let me go back. I want to try to set the stage.
Sure.
The other thing I want to do is make sure everybody knows how many looks and, who you reached out to. Is that?
Gotcha. Yeah, the first page, and actually, Jessica Pugh does have some other information that in regards to this.
Can we bring her forward? Just let her just kind of set the stage,
Sure.
and then you can finish with the project itself.
Sure.
Just want to, so we all kind of understand.
Gotcha.
How we got there. Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Jessica Pugh. I'm the purchasing manager. I'm just going to go over some of the statistics for the advertisement. We did post the advertisement out on OpenGov. We're always required to advertise in the Orlando Sentinel when we're posting a new bid. We posted within the weekly newsletter, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course had all of our public information on OpenGov. Vendors notified were 1,011. We did have 607 project views on OpenGov. We had 24 vendors that followed the project all the way through. We had 27 vendors that actually downloaded all of the data for our project, and then we had the one submitter for Standard Holdings.
Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
So as part of the discussion that would be coming up regarding the negotiation, if we can get that far, is the appraisal it came out at $900,000 would be included with the potential RFP award. So in other words, basically they're getting that big carrot out there to bring that developer into the site. The developer would complete the level area for the event space, the plaza, prior to turning it over to the city. And the CRA would be able to design and complete the pavilion. This is the recommendation from the evaluation committee for the negotiations.
Can you just speak a little louder?
Sure.
Okay.
The developer would complete the level area, the event area, for the event space or the plaza prior to turning it over to the city. And then the CRA would do the design and complete the pavilion itself.
So the CRA.
Yep. The complete development agreement would have to be for the construction time period as described in the RFP, which would start within 2 years and be completed within 4. We were hoping to get the plaza area turned over to the city within 3 years. And just so that everybody does know that the southeastern portion of the site actually is what's considered a brownfield. In other words, it is polluted from a previous occupant or owner of the property. And that there's small plumes that go out from the pollution. And one of the cures for that is to actually seal it. Basically, you put cement on top and you put monitoring wells so that you can still gauge where it is and if there's any type of issues for the public, for the general public itself. But the other thing with brownfields is that you do have an opportunity to get a little bit of money back for what you are doing to help seal that property, so that there's a potential there. Right now, the city owns the property, of course. We do have monitoring wells on the site. As part of the negotiation of the contract is that this would be turned over to the bidder. They would do their design, their installation of the plaza, the two residential structures that they've got proposed, which actually comes out to 48 units. And the whole idea is that this 3.43 acre area is mixed use, and there's a maximum density of 15 dwelling units per acre, which is actually 50 units. So they're planning on doing two buildings, 3-story buildings, and I'll get to some drawings for that also, at 24 units each. They will also have the plaza itself that they'll be completing and then turning that back over to the city for our control and our use for events, whether it's a craft fair, food trucks, closing the portion of Central Ave and 5th Street for events, movies on the plaza for kids at night on a Saturday night with a blow-up screen, things like that. Those are the things that I had originally thought would be a very good use to bring people to our downtown. And then there's also a parking lot planned for about 140 parking spaces. The other portion is that there were, I'm going to just go to this. This is the overall plan that was proposed. This is not ingrained. This is, it's a very good layout. I had originally come up with one that's actually put in our CRA plan that put the buildings backing up to the railroad track. And in this case, what they did, they put the units or the buildings internal. They segmented the plaza itself. So it was it's about an acre of property for the plaza and the event space for the pavilion and the lawn itself, and then the parking spaces you can see over on the western side and north side. Overall development is they're estimating is about $8.7 million. And as you've known, this property, for those of you that have been here in Apopka a long time, there was a laundry over in this area. There was a bar called Feel Goods Bar that I never went in, but it was a little sketchy. But this area has been vacant for a very, very long time. We've had a few different ideas of what we could do with the property, and to be able to get people downtown, this is a potential of 48 units. Our current estimate for dwellings or persons per household right now is 2.69 people per household. If we got 1 or 1.5 persons per unit, we're going to get at least 70 or 80 people living downtown, and that is what will spur commercial development. We also have 3 other townhome projects, one to the east, one to the south, and one to the west, that will be getting about 50 units in addition to these. And so we're hoping that by getting these people downtown, that will drive some of the potential for more commercial development itself. To point out a couple spots right here, this area right, yeah, it is there. This is one of the larger lots that used to be Henry's Meats, for those of you that used to get your hot dogs or hamburgers and things like that there. That is owned by a company called Shree. They're out of Orlando. I've already contacted them in regards to development. I actually have an old proposal from about 15 years ago that somebody came up with, and I've sent that to them. Haven't gotten any reply yet, but I'm always optimistic. We also have another lot over. We actually have a lot over on this side that is available. The potential there is you could get at least 2 units, maybe on the ground floor, and 1 or 2 units up on the top floor. The person that bought Parton's Grocery Store from Milton Ramelshute also owns the small house that's between that and Hall's Feed Store. And then there's also 2 smaller buildings that right near the churches. They're paying the rent and paying the mortgage, so that's there. The other portion here, the Apopka Furniture, that building's up for sale, and that could probably get 3 or 4 units in there for potential investment and more commercial downtown. So we've got lots just on Central Ave alone that are developable. And then we've got a couple other lots that are off of 4th Street that can get redeveloped also. This is our parking lot that we just completed a couple years ago. We also have a pathway that we could go right along here. The city owns this 25-foot. And one of the plans is to do a sidewalk connection from the parking lot over to Central Ave, which will also feed into this development itself. And across the street, of course, we have our VFW. That's got about 56 parking spots. And Station Street itself, another potential development stronghold. That's if you haven't driven by there, that's the old train station is down there too, that it's owned by one of the local families. So with that, what the other part that we were looking at, this is the plaza, nice little quick sketch drawing. I thought that kind of laid it out. It's not necessarily exactly going to happen. We don't know about the tower and the clock and things like that. Clocks on towers tend to get broke very easily because it's all exposed, but you never know. Might put a digital one. One of the comments that came up from the committee was that these are 3 of the sample designs that came in with the bid itself. The first one, the one on top, none of the reviewers wanted that. It didn't look good. The other 2 are actually more what we were looking at. And as part of the bid package, I had found some other pictures for buildings that are something similar that we would like to see. The primary thing that staff and that the evaluation committee is looking at is getting balconies. One of the things that I had always said is that if you put balconies out, that means people are watching. In other words, it's called eyes on the prize. And there's a less likelihood of things going south if you have people out on your balcony watching you do something that you shouldn't do. So different designs. These are 3 and 4 story type units. Again, if we had commercial, it'd be wonderful to be able to do that. But again, we don't have the people living downtown to be able to spur that commercial development yet. But this is a potential product that could get at least 48 people downtown, along with the townhomes that we've got going. I'm always hopeful and optimistic, for those of you that know me. This is also the other part that's kind of unique with this is one of the things that was mentioned at one of the earlier presentations was the downtown Apopka trail. That is, I believe it's about 100% designed right now, and I'm working with 5 different property owners to get some easements, access easements and utility easements. That'll finish that portion off, but we should be going out to bid close to the end of the year, and hopefully we'll be able to get that awarded and possibly start by May or June this next year. I don't expect it to take all that long, but it is about 2 miles worth of 10-foot trail around our downtown. And it also segments and goes through the Station Street project area. So everything's going to lead right here. Of course, our downtown, that's where everybody wants to go anyway, right? Right? Okay. So what we're looking for right now is to approve staff to negotiate a contract with the bidder and then return to City Council within 120 days with the contract that you can see and discuss and vote on. And as I mentioned, I'm always optimistic. With any luck, we will have good negotiations where some of the things that the bidder may have misinterpreted or we misinterpreted what they said in the bid, we can negotiate those things out and get the majority of things that it's going to be for the betterment of our downtown and especially for the betterment of our city. been working on this for 30 years, so this is kind of a big one for me.
Okay. Questions for Jim? Commissioner Vasquez?
Well, I had sent a few questions to them because I did tune in to the community meeting.
Good.
I did take a lot of notes. The one thing, and thank, is Jessica here?
Jessica?
Thank you for answering all the questions, and kind of gave some clarity, because I kind of walked away from the meeting feeling like the committee wasn't keen on some of the designs of the building, but
Yep.
you did discuss that with me. The one thing that is still kind of, I'm stuck on, is that it is a mixed use. And, you know, we want the downtown. We truly want that. We want to kind of kickstart the, you know, the foot traffic, but the retail space. And that's important, is to have, because I just don't want to put 48 residents in an area and not have anything for them. And I said that to you. I said, even if it's 2 spaces, 3 spaces, but it does need a retail space, because you are putting an event center there, but that's, an event center is something that they have to kind of rent to create, you know, an activity. But something that, you know, there are small business owners on the south side of Apopka that are kind of working out of their homes. So by putting 1 or 2 or even 3 small retail spaces, we're encouraging those business owners to come in and open up a business. And that's why we considered it mixed use down there. And part of
Understood.
the downtown center, although I know you're saying, you know, we have all these other little commercial places, but we don't have them going yet. But if we put this residential building there, I just would like to see some retail, because it would encourage small business owners from that are in business on the south side of Apopka to want to come to the downtown center. So that's the only thing that I'm kind of stuck on, and maybe we can work on something with that.
Yep.
But I would like to see it go forward. I mean, I appreciate, because also she did, she did give me all the information that she read, you know, project views, how many vendors were notified. And I guess Mr. Bench is willing to come back one more time for us. And so at this point, he's you know, this is what he wants to do, and so, you know, I want to go forth with it. I think it's, you know, we've been delaying this for a long time, and it's part of the city downtown, but I'm just kind of stuck on the retail. I'd like to see the retail. If
And
we
that's why I
can work
mentioned, I'm sorry.
some magic, because he seems to work magic, because he's back.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I mentioned Apopka Furniture. I'm hoping that anybody that's listening in, that building is for sale, and it could get probably 3 or 4 units in there. And to rehab a building, I actually have money in the CRA that can help do that.
Is that the
furniture store?
The furniture store is that?
Yes, ma'am, yes. And the opportunity to rehab that would cost a lot less. And somebody who does have a business in their home that they're looking to expand, that would be more feasible than getting a brand new unit. And I was way off, by the way. I checked prices for rentals and things like that. If you got a 24 by 50 foot unit, it would probably run about $2,500 to $2,500 a month.
For
a rental of a brand new building.
In a brand new building.
Yeah, whereas something where if it's a renovation, that could be closer to $500 to $1,000 a month. So there's a big difference when you're startup costs. Usually you try to program in at least enough money in your budget to last a year, because it usually takes at least a year to establish a new business at a new location.
So, I mean, we do have are we going to get community input on this project?
It's at these stages right here.
I'm sorry?
It's at this stage right here.
Oh, it's at this stage right here.
Yep.
But if we, you know, we vote to move it forward, will we have public input?
It's at this stage. It's city council reviews. and the contract. It's not any different than any other contract that we
Okay.
have.
Okay.
Mr. Mason?
Yeah, to me, this is the anchor. It's, what's bringing it through. I agree, absolutely. We want to see the retail, and this is the thing that if we build it, they will come moment. What is going to kickstart this thing? We've got, our couple vendors over here and, the acts and this and that, things starting to move. But this really will be a key. I know you like downtown Apopka Triangle, but I would propose.
Oh, I already
Apopka
said get
Central
rid of that.
Plaza would be going right on Central. But anyway, a few questions. How finished will the plaza be? I see there it says that the proposal includes constructing a plaza to city specs with the city providing the funding. But just before that it says rough grading. So will that be a kind of a finished portion?
My goal, the picture that's up there right now, my goal is to get a plaza that's ready to go.
Okay.
I like if we do palm trees, then you don't shield or block a view. You also don't get branches in people's face.
Yeah.
They're also a lot easier to control. The root structure is not aggressive, so you aren't going to tear up the pavement. The lawn part could be lawn, it could be grass. I'm going to recommend turf, not artificial turf. Thank you. And I was at the floor. Well, the good part is that you can clean it up easy. It also does not go bad.
Doesn't feel as good on your toes.
Yeah, true. The grass is definitely better, but you get 100 people walking on the grass, it's gone in a year. So.
Well, the pros and cons on that, but yeah, I mean, I love the layout. I think it's very inviting as long as we do it in a classy way. That
yes, sir. Yes,
this
sir.
needs to be. This is our central draw point. The nature of the brownfield. What was there? Automotive stuff there, chemical stuff, fertilizer.
There
What
was a laundromat and an ice house.
Ice house
Okay.
is what I remembered. Yeah, that's
okay. So just laundry.
Yep.
Yeah, back
Okay.
when Commissioner Smith was a kid, he used to go down there.
And I noticed that I'm very pleased with the pavilion there. I saw in the one rendering like a band playing. So will that be something that we can have bands, that we can have small plays, things
Correct.
like that in the park? And
Yep,
like
plays.
you mentioned, go up.
Yeah,
theater
if
for
we
the
have
kids.
something, I saw this up in a city to the north. I don't want anybody to go there. I want them to stay here, where they actually had a blow up screen, and kids came down there and watched. I think it was Buzz Lightyear when they were when they were, or Toy Story, and the families were down there. They were there were some kids that were selling popcorn, and you bring families downtown, and it was a wonderful event. I was just walking by. I went to the German restaurant up there, but this is the potential that we have for our downtown to bring people downtown. Everybody's kind of seen what happened with the parking lot. That everybody laughed at me when I'm going to get a parking lot. Well, that got 6 new businesses downtown. So you put this, that's more people. People are going to spur that development. And like you said, this is the cornerstone for our downtown.
Yeah, and I do believe it'll bring it as long as we protect, as you said, that we have enough retail there and the businesses that are around.
Yes.
The angle along the tracks there, the opposite side of the tracks, I know quite a while back when you were initially talking about that, you were talking about business there with apartments above. Is that still kind of the long range thought
that would have
process, or
been-
is that shifting now because of this?
This one I actually kind of like a little bit better because it does, you don't have to worry as much about the noise from the train backing up, so you don't have to worry about the sound attenuating design for the building itself.
So basically retail can be on Central there and then down to Station Street and
Yep.
On Fifth as well.
Yep. That's it.
And as you brought up in our packet, this really clarifies, of course, we always want to see more than one bidder. That was part of our concern before. But we do have, it says, a single submittal from a competitive solicitation is allowable per our city purchasing policy. We've done that in different projects before. But the bottom line is you spelled it out, Jessica. Over 1,000 vendors were notified, 607 views, and as you said, 27 downloads, 24 that were following this through. We have our mandate before us, I believe. So I think it's time to move. I'm excited about it. I think this will really, again, kickstart this thing that we've been wanting for several years. And there's still part of the process to still, walk it out for any of the details that we want to see, so.
One of the things I had gone to I mentioned this to the Florida Redevelopment Association conference last week, and I talked to quite a few different directors, just CRAs, not just community development directors, but and I gave them a scenario for the property. We got about 3.43 acres total, and told them we'd gone out to bid once. We only had one bidder, and they said, "You had just one?" And I said, "Well, yeah, but." They said, "Oh, you got one." They meant it was good to have one, because there's quite a few bids out there right now, and quite a few projects that they've had that they didn't get any bids. And you end up having to go back out to bid 2 or 3 or 4 times. People start realizing this isn't going to work because you don't even have one bid to work off of. So they thought it was, I couldn't show them this, but they thought, you get 50 people living, or 50 units downtown, that's a good plus. So
Yeah.
just pass that on. It's
Well, and I
redevelopment
appreciate,
stuff.
yeah, I appreciate all the infrastructure and development that's already gone in, and I think that there's already been shown a what's the word? Really, they're for the city.
Yep.
And I appreciate Tony and what they've done already, the things that are developing. I think that they believe in Apopka is what I'm trying to say.
We also
So I'm
have.
excited to see the possibilities of this.
I get on this podium and I just think of all the potential. We also have money in the CRA budget that we put in for electrifying basically Central Ave and Fifth Street. So what that means is that if we do a food truck event, we close the streets and we bring people downtown, those vendors do not have to plug or have to start their noisy generators and all that. They just plug it in right there on the street, and it keeps it quiet, but it keeps the vibe going for the crowd that comes downtown.
And so start within 2, completed within 4 is what I'm seeing.
Correct.
Commissioner Smith.
Well, I guess I'm a little confused at this point. I see it says 3 stories and 24 units in the 2 buildings, but then there seems to be some hesitance about the retail on the first floor. So is it 24 units on the second and third floor?
No, they're proposing 2 24-unit buildings, no retail.
No retail at all?
No retail. The bid itself, when it came in, they basically justified what they said actually from the first bid too, is that it might not support any retail downtown until you get those people. They can deliver the people. They can deliver the apartment complexes downtown. And the belief is that we have enough other properties within about a 4 to 5 block area that we're going to get more commercial because we are now getting residential structures downtown. I would love to have retail as part of the project. It changes the aspect though of what you can do and where you can put the retail itself.
I guess I was just looking forward to having the retail on the first floor.
Yeah.
And then as I look at the drawing that you have there, where you have the tower and the food trucks and look like palm tree, no, go back.
Oh, back, okay.
And the palm trees in the middle of Central Avenue is.
Oh, Central Avenue is there. It's just got trees on each side.
Oh, okay, so the road is still there, just the trees is on the side. Okay, because it doesn't appear like it kind of disappeared there for a moment. All right.
I can't zoom in, but.
All right, so we're talking about putting the pavilion in the brownfield area with the ice house where I used to go before I went to Road to get ice.
Yep. You can chill out there.
So the pavilion's gonna go there, you're gonna put the concrete down to cover up the brownfield. Now, the cleaners was on the opposite side over next to where the furniture store is, so we don't have to worry about that brownfield?
No, the main brownfield is underneath where that plaza is right now.
Where the ice house was?
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right, because you mentioned the cleaners, and I knew the cleaners was on the other side. So,
Yeah, I think the cleaners is where the bike shop is right now.
Right.
And apparently there's no issues with that one.
Well, it's on the end where they tore it down.
Yeah.
right. All right, and it is still, I didn't look at the entire packet from the developer, but I know in the RFP that went out, it stated that we wanted minority participation, so.
Correct.
And the developers is okay with that.
In two different areas, yep.
All right.
Commissioner Nesta?
Did we get any feedback from any of the interested groups, any of the other groups at all? Did we get any feedback at all?
Did we get anybody else contact us? Regarding
You want
the
to
bid?
come, Jessica, please.
I don't believe so, but
Any other interested groups, could you say that again?
Yeah, did
Commissioner?
they offer any feedback of thanks but no thanks because X?
No, we did not receive feedback on this one.
Okay. So you're, and this isn't for you, well, it could be. Either way, yeah. The plaza itself, you're saying is going to be funded out of the CRA?
no, what I'm going to negotiate is that the developer do the plaza.
Finish it all together?
We might do the pavilion itself.
Okay.
Because I kind of like the idea that I can bring if we do that through the CRA, I'd like the CRA board, IEU plus the two, to look at the design for the pavilion and approve it so that we get what we want for that pavilion versus just a four-poster with a long cover.
I thought we already earmarked all those dollars though when the CRA.
We still have funding coming in.
Do we?
Yeah, we get about $400,000 a year. The CRA does sunset though in
24,
January
isn't it?
2024. So I'm going to be going to the county, if anybody from the county is listening, to get our CRA extended another 10 years probably.
So potentially we won't have those funds when this becomes available.
We will probably have at least $300,000 or $400,000 by the time this comes on board that we can earmark for this project. You can
Okay.
even after sunsetting, as long as you dedicate the funding, you can hold on to that for up to 3 years for that project.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Do we, and I should have asked this prior, just so you could look this up, but do we know what we paid for this site at any point in the past? Or just do we just take it
haven't
over?
checked. I haven't checked how much
Okay. I didn't know if that you just memorized off the top of your head.
Actually, that probably is available. It might be available on the property appraiser site.
Okay. I didn't know if you
It might
had
not
that.
be though.
So, where do I start? The appraisal that was given in this, I guess it's a recommendation moving forward with any RFP. We shouldn't be looking at appraisals that are 3 years old. And the appraisal that was produced on this property used comps from 2014 when it was done in 2019. Altogether horrible appraisal. And especially now, trying to make that decision now for this parcel, those aren't adequate data points to be able to render something that actually helps us negotiate down the road. So that's that. I assume it has to be affordable housing to make this project work, correct?
There's no indication from the bidder that it's affordable housing. We'll probably get more information regarding that later.
Okay. I just, from experience, I would assume that's the only way that makes sense. LIHTC credits or something along those lines. On the retail side, they very specifically, between last year and, well, not even last year, between January and now, retail has never been in their plan.
Correct.
Although downtown does benefit from retail, obviously, this site is a very messy site. This is a tough deal as a real estate person looking at it. It's messy. There's just so much to it. And then there's a lot of trade-offs here. And it's one of those questions of the developer said in January, February, whenever it was, they're never coming back. And here they are. So it's not a thank you. It's what's the alternative here? What are we getting at? Because, let's say that we're spending $9 million on this project. It's maybe worth $10 million at the end of the day. So it's just, there's a lot of questions raised here, but at the end of the day, if it adds to our downtown, I'm for that. I think it is a plus. It's just, I want to make sure we're partnering with the right people because there is a big parcel of this that we are needing to partner with. So I want to make sure we're partnering with the right developers, although we only have one. But again, it's because this is a messy deal, so I understand that on the real estate side. I guess where my biggest frustration comes in is from our council. 10 months ago, you guys all said no to this. What's the change now? We're now 10 months into this. Interest rates have risen, so this is now more expensive for the developer, any developer that's coming in, which makes this that much less attractive of a deal. I guess I'm just frustrated up here that I'm seeing this now, and you guys are all for this gung-ho, and not one of you voted yes for this. So it's just, I would like to hear, why the change of heart, and why this is such an attractive project now when none of you guys supported this before.
Well, I can speak to myself. After the fact, after the vote, we were informed that we were not actually awarding the contract, we was entering negotiations with the developer in order to bring back a final project. And so then it made more sense. And so that's the same thing that we're doing now, is that we're entering negotiation with the developer for him to bring back a final project for our approval. So we will see this again.
Right. No, I understand.
Yeah, I know for me, I voiced it the next week that I felt that that was not the right decision to make. There was a little bit of volatility at the time, just different issues, I think, that weighed on it for me, just being straightforward. The fact that we only had one bidder, I think, weighed on it, but we had several projects before where we only ended up having one bidder and we passed those. And there was public comment of different ones that said, we want to see this, so there seemed to be support for it. And again, that's why I declared that the next week, so.
I do.
He goes, I want your explanation. Well, the first time it was presented, I had not tuned into the community meeting. I had a lot more questions. At that time, there was a very political, a lot going on. There was a lot mixed in there, and it just, at that time, it just didn't feel right. So I didn't vote for it. But since then, I've seen the first community meeting that was held back before you brought it to us. And then afterwards, I was able to tune into that. I have more information now, and even as recent as, this week, that I sent a lot of questions and you answered them. So I'm comfortable with, Mr. Tony Benj he again is the one bidder, and I was surprised that he put in a bid. We want to see this downtown kind of come to fruition. So I feel that this time is we have more information and we have a lot more to work with, and he's willing to work with us. And this is just a negotiation period, which is something, and I'm going to be on the same page as Commissioner Bankson. I didn't understand that that's what we were doing. It felt like we were approving something rather than just having the ability to negotiate. So that's why I'm kind of for the project right now.
Mr. Mayor, is there any reason why you voted against this?
You know why.
Well, you did it at the disservice to, I guess, the developer at that point, where, again, interest rates are that much higher now. So we could have been 10 months into this, and now we're starting over. So it's a frustrating place to be, but, and you, Mr. Haight, I've discussed this, that this is negotiation. So when you guys bring it back to us, I'll probably be tearing that apart at some point too, and making sure that we get everything that we want. And we've discussed hopefully better ways to get this to where all of us are happy and can move this forward for the community's benefit long term. So those are my comments. I'm frustrated with the process and where we are at, but hopefully we can see a good product come back, hopefully with a piece of retail if we can, whenever you guys are done negotiating.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter?
Rogers Beckett, 7 West Main Street. I'm just trying to make sure I understand the process, but it seems like as if you guys want to bolster residential development or units downtown Apopka. And my thing is, if this is the case, you really want to do this, why wouldn't you not grant the developer some type of bonus density for the site? Because looking at it, 24, 48 units, it's not a lot. I would think somebody of his nature would want to take it to 100 units at a minimum. But that's just kind of my thing, looking at it from not just this site, but just the surrounding area as a whole. I know years ago, this area would have been considered a central business district that had particular bonus density. For example, 2 times the floor area ratio, 100% of the site. So I don't know if you guys take that into account to try to get those numbers up to make it more attractive for retail components to come along. But, 48 units, you're not going to put much retail with that. So I think you should at least try to get more units in this area to sustain the downtown, if that's really what you want to do. So that's just kind of my 2 cents. But I just think not only this site, but a lot of different areas, just increase the density for the more units, because ultimately, if you want retail down in this area, you got to have more people, period. So just kind of get that into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this matter? Okay. We'll close the public hearing and look for a motion from the council.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right. Pam, Ridge.
I thought I put the roots, did I put it away? No.
This is the First Amendment to the Ridge Development Agreement. This amendment was created on my request. The development agreement was done well, but I just felt like there needed to be clarification or more details on the transportation part. So that's what the developer and his attorney have done. It just provided, it was more specific in what they're going to do, what their responsibility is, and what the city's responsibilities are. So the request is to approve this amendment to the Transportation Impact Fee Credit Agreement.
Okay.
Did I say it's for the Ridge?
Yes.
Did I say it's for the Ridge?
You did.
Questions?
No. That you gave that presentation, that was the presentation with the, no?
No, that was for the study for the road. This has even more of other improvements. They're building a spine road. They're making improvements to certain intersections. They're donating 30 feet of right-of-way along Apopka Road. Kevin, help me. There's more.
Okay. What did you say?
They're designing the 4-laning of Apopka Road, the segment that you saw in the presentation.
Any other questions?
171.
for Pam? Okay, anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve the First Amendment to the Ridge Transportation Improvement Development Agreement and Grant of Easement. Mouthful.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Dr. Jackson.
She did say this to me, yeah.
Good evening, I'm David Fox of Fred Fox Enterprise. This is an update on your CDBG housing grant. Also review conflicts of interest associated with the project and a ranking of the clients or applicants. Reviewing every city council member, citizen advisory task force member, and staff associated with the project filled out a conflict of interest form with all 16 applicants' names listed. Originally, you had 41 applicants in the project, but due to location of homes, not ownership problems, income ineligibility, we got down to 16 from the 41. So the list was given to each city commission member, council member, citizen advisory task force member, which is like an oversight board to utilize for this grant, and city employees, Mr. Bass and Ms. Harris Jackson, and no conflicts of interest were noted.
So at this time, there's no conflicts of interest under this project. The only Citizen Advisory Task Force member we didn't either speak with or get a form back from was Lori Freeman. We're still trying to contact her. If she comes back with a conflict, then we're going to have to go through the whole process to get a waiver if she has a conflict with one of the applicants. But there's no action required for the conflict of interest. I just wanted to go over it with you, let you know there was none at this time. It's a requirement through your housing assistance plan and just a step. Before I go through the ranking, I'm going to kind of give you an update. You've done your initial environmental review, which initial project over citywide, and that has been completed. We've got release of funds from the state to move forward with the project. You've advertised for applicants. The state received 41 applicant submittals. After review, we got down to 16. We've done an initial ranking. On the 16, we met with your Citizens Advisory Task Force on Monday. They went over the conflicts of interest packets also, and they recommended the ranking to you in the following order. Ranking was based on your housing assistance plan. The highest ranked applicants are households with incomes below 30% of area median, which also include households that have disability or handicap under that 30% of median, and households over 62 that are below 30% of median. From there, the next ranked applicants are the second tier, will be households 31% of area median income up to 50% area median or low moderate income. And the highest ranked on that category or tier 2 would be the disabled or handicapped head of household over 62 years of age, and households with large family. If you didn't fall into that category, the next tier or third tier would be households with incomes between 51% of area median up to 80% of area median. Over 80% of area median, you just don't qualify for the program. Under tier 3, the highest ranked,
Bless you.
the highest ranked people in the category 3 or tier 3 would be disabled or handicapped head of households over 62 years of age, households with large family. So we took each applicant's intake application. We reviewed it for the criteria noted in your housing assistance plan. As you can see, the X's identify which categories they fell under. And the ranking is as follows. Rank number 1, Martin Teen Ivy, 708 South Washington Avenue. Rank number 2, Demarius Fonseca, 28 West 8th Street. Rank number 3, Patricia Cannon, 1165 DeCleva Drive. Rank number 4, Lynn Fonger, 1334 Chabon Court. Rank number 5, April Cox, 1725 Water Beach Court. Rank number 6, Kathy Evans, 810 East Magnolia Street. Rank number 7, Roscoe Griffin, 118 West 8th Street. Rank number 8, Marilyn Perkins, 407 East 8th Street. Rank number 9 is Mary Bushman, 307 North Hawthorne Avenue. Rank number 10 is Louise Ware, 750 South Washington Avenue. Rank number 11 is Donald Franklin, 1227 Maybrook Street. Rank number 12 is Philip Mathis, 226 Lavelle Lane. Rank number 13 is Felica Aiken, 722 South Central Avenue. And just to make a comment on Miss Aiken, she was an alternate on the CATF. She was never actually on the board. She was an alternate. That was never, and since then, she's actually stepped down before we had the CATF meeting, which avoided any conflict of interest. And we'll also let the state know that when if we get down to her house. Number 14 is Isamine Stava, 2198 Pinion Road. Number 15 is Naomi Musak, 2158 Cobblefield Circle. And rank number 16 is Angela Florence, 1358 Decina Blossom Drive. This was recommended to the board for approval by the Citizen Advisory Task Force. Just so you know, we have not done title searches yet, so it may change a little. We've not received all the third-party income verifications, so that may adjust the ranking also. This is the initial ranking based on the information we have received today.
Any questions for Mr. Fox?
Yeah, what would be the point of a title search? Just confirm that they are the owners?
Just make sure there's no judgments. We don't want to go in there and make sure that they have the right to be able to sign. There's a 10-year mortgage associated with the grant.
Okay.
And it's based on just living in the house. Every year you live there, 10% comes off. And we just want to make sure that they at least have some rights to the property where they can sign this mortgage. And they understand that what's going on, that we don't want to go in there and have a bunch of judgments also and the chance of losing the property after you build them a new home or bring it up to code.
Gotcha. Okay, and it's just a second lien position or third lien position?
Yeah, mostly, you're not gonna subordinate a lien if you have one, if they want to do something else with it, but you're just gonna take whatever's available. So if they have a first, you're gonna go to the second. You don't wanna jeopardize their home, you just wanna give, some kind of security where they don't go and spend grant dollars on something, or make income off grant dollars.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, like we had one of the houses that had some code enforcement violations. We had to clean those up before we could
Makes
submit
sense.
their application.
And how many of these do you propose to take care of?
Depending on, right now, your number one ranked home is a replacement, so it's gonna take a large chunk of your budget. You propose to do 11. Based on the experience I've had in the last few years, we're probably gonna do 6 or 7. But you have quite a few rehabs, so if we have to skip a replacement home further up the list to utilize the remaining funds, we'll address somebody up the list, just that has less need. Not because we prefer to address them, but their home only may need $10,000 worth of repairs, or the people below them need 40, and we don't have 40 available. So pretty much you're gonna follow your ranking until you get to the end. If there's only a little bit of money left and there's a house that only needs a little bit of repairs and it addresses all code violations, then you may go up the list to get to that one house just to utilize your remaining funds. But without that popping up, you're gonna go down the list until you.
So it's a possibility of 7?
It's a possibility to 7, and it's a possibility that number 12 ranked may get addressed before number 6. If there's only 20,000 available and they only need 20,000 repairs, and number 6 needs a new home or a replacement home.
All right.
Because you do have to address all code violations and health and safety issues when you address a home.
One of the things we talked about with City Serve and with the chamber, we've got some of our Habitat people that have come in and helped, and Coca-Cola, for instance, came in and helped build some houses. I was talking to David about the opportunity for us to step in and help. Got to be careful how we have outside help. Let's say we wanted to get all 16. We can't have CDBG dollars and sweat equity together. It has to be all contractor and all sweat equity. So does that make sense?
Yeah, the homes being addressed with CDBG funds are gonna be a contract between the homeowner and the contractor. So the city's like the bank with the grant money, but the actual contract between the homeowner and the contractor has to provide a year warranty, and he has to verify that the being worked meets all the criteria under the so really combining sweat equity, you're not gonna find contractors that usually will fall underneath that and still be a contract that's not through the city.
So we can, let's just say we've got one that needs a toilet and a repaint or retile, that we could find enough people to help pull that together. We'll take that whole project on. We can't have CDBG.
Part of it and we do the other part.
Yeah, so that, because
Okay,
I
so
was.
it's either all or none.
Yes, but I think we can, maybe we'll get some partners to help us. I'd love to get all 16. That's my goal, but I don't, we'll have to see how those numbers work out. But so I think there's some partnerships that we can do, but it'll be.
So will we know once they ranked 1 to 16, but now what's the next step for you?
The next step is this city is currently getting quotes from abstractors for title or O&E report, ownership and encumbrance reports, and they're getting quotes for asbestos inspections and for lead-based paint inspections. We should have the rest of those. We've gotten 1 or 2 already. We should be getting a third one within the next week or so. Houses, first we're going to do is the O&E report request. Make sure they have clear title, or at least title sufficient that we can proceed with the house. There's not judgments on it. They also verify their income for the third party. If they were built before 1978 and they're looking at being rehabilitated and not replaced, then we have to get a lead-based paint inspection done on the house. And then all homes will get an asbestos inspection just to verify if there's asbestos, we abate it as part of the rehab. Once we get those reports back, I can do the bid specifications. We can start the bidding process.
So all these inspections and that you're doing, is that part of this
It's
grant?
all paid through the grant.
It's all going to be deducted from the grant.
It's all paid through the grant. Yes, ma'am. And it's a requirement of the program.
It is.
HUD requires anything built before 1978 has to be rehabbed to get lead. And DEO environmental has requested that any homes being addressed, even if it's a year old, have an asbestos inspection. It's part of the site-specific environmental review.
So I see there's one home that you need to kind of replace. there's just one home that you're actually going to?
So far, in looking at the ranking, the worst one that we've dealt with is Mr. Ivy, is in the worst condition.
So while that's going on in his home or the rebuild,
We're
where
going
does
to
he
process
stay?
them all as many as at one time as we can.
Excuse me?
We're going to process as many at one time as we can. So once we have an idea, once I get an estimate on how many square footage we have to meet the local code requirements, then we'll do a cost estimate and we'll keep going. And if we bid, we may bid out one or two extra, and if we don't have the funds, we might just have to say we've gotten bids, we can't afford to do the home. But we're trying to do what we can. We're going to bid a large group to start off with so that we can get the money on the street and expended.
Who pays for him while they're doing this to his home? Where do we house him?
The grant, the way the housing assistance plan is set up is that they'll get $200 to move out and they'll get an on-site storage trailer supplied through the grant. And if it's a family of 3 or less, they get $100 a month to help with utilities for them to stay somewhere, or a family of over 3 is $150 a month. The assistance is to help somebody pay for utilities that they stay with. The grant is not set up to pay for temporary housing while your home's being done. The idea of the program is you find your own housing, usually to stay with a relative or a friend, so we can
Okay.
use as much of the grant dollars to pay for as many houses as possible and not provide temporary housing.
Okay. That was, okay.
Okay, Mr. Bankston? Good, okay, awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fox, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing, look for a motion to accept the conflict of interest forms and applicant ranking list for the FY19 CDBG grant, housing grant.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up. Thank you, David. DO.
We don't get to go.
Mayor, good evening, Commissioner. My name is David Atpuru, Public Service Director. This evening, I will be presenting for your approval the fiscal year 22-23 roadway resurface program and the Northwest Recreation Facility roadway rehabilitation. My presentation will touch on the strategy used in the fiscal year 22-23 roadway selection, talk about the pavement methodology, resurfacing methods, and list of the selected roadway and rehabilitation methods. I also will be speaking a little bit about the Northwest Recreation Facility roadway rehabilitation and striping. On December the 15th, 2021, a preliminary list which shows the fiscal year 22-23 was presented to this council. That was a preliminary list. This list here that is presented now for approval is inclusive of all those roads that were listed then. We also used in the consideration of the selection of this list is the October 2021 pavement condition assessment report that was completed for the city. In this report, they did a pavement condition analysis in which they ranked these roads according to PCI, right, with this pavement condition index, like 100 is very good, 80 to 100 is very good, 70 is moderate, 0 to 60 is poor to at a fair. Staff verified each of these roadways with respect to the severity of distress and deficiencies, and we also received citizen inquiries, were evaluated and included where applicable. And all these roads, right, were selected based on allocated funding. We could do more, but we are restricted with the amount of funding that we have. On the pavement methodology is based on the severity of the pavement distress. For example, we have oxidation of roads, potholes, raveling and cracking. And also we know if there's local road or the subdivisions, the density of the roads there. So in that case, the method that you selected, which is a structural method or a preventative method, which is called non-structural. In the case of a structural method is mill and overlay, that is when at least the pavement is such that the condition is fair to poor. So as a result, no treatment could ever rejuvenate that pavement to give you the better buck for your money. So the best way to do it is to mill and overlay that road and remove the existing pavement and put in some new pavement there. In the non-structural method, which is called a treatment, we can use Cape Seal or microsurface. We place it on the existing pavement, and it will give us a surface that can last for 8 to 12 years. So these are the two methods that was used last fiscal year to pave our roadway. And so a brief overview of those treatment method is shown here. And the mill and overlay process is 1 to 1.5 inch of existing pavement is milled and removed, and the area then swept and tack coat, and new asphalt is being placed, is rolled, and the roadway is paved and open to the public. In this case, the pavement is removed. In the other case of Cape Seal is a surface treatment in which the existing pavement surface is sprayed with emulsified asphalt, immediately covered with aggregate, rolled, and then a final coat of fog seals, slurry seal, or microsurface is added. So that's why the word Cape Seal, you just cap that surface. With that, the two methods that were described, the mill and overlay and the Cape Seal, we have selected the roads here in which these methods will be applied. So the first one here is Vic Road, which is mill and overlay. It goes from 300 feet south of Welch Road to Ashworth Overlook Drive. And the next is 2nd Avenue and Central Avenue. If you notice, we have Marshall Lake on this slide. This was listed in the last, in December, when I presented in the 21st, but we remove it now is because there is a road widening is taking place there in the section of that roadway. We thought it's better for that to be completed prior to us where we surface that. And the next is 9th Street, McGee Street, and Little Avenue. As you can see there from the location of the map is a conceptual area to be paved. Similarly, we have Orange Street, which go from Park Avenue to the Forest. And these are all mill and overlay roads. In the Errol Estate, the sliver of area here, last year we ran out of funds and we couldn't have done it. So this year we decided to complete that stretch of roadway. We have some more on Errol Estate. We have Lake Francis Drive from Shopkeep Leicester Road to Errol Parkway. And then we have a set of roadway within this sliver of the area, Lake Aladdin, and as you can see, a set of roadways that is listed there that we are going to perform. And the reason for these 3 slides is because we couldn't put all of one slides. Christiana Avenue from Volta to Monroe, you can see, the concept there, that's for mill and overlay as well. And then we have Myrtle Street and Central Avenue, as you can see from the sketch, that's a roadway that we are going to use the mill and overlay. In this slide here, you're going to see 2 colors here because those that are listed in blue is those roadway in which we are going to perform the mill and overlay. Those areas that you see in kind of brown here, that area we are going to perform the Cape Seal and microsurface. Sheila Oak and County are just subdivision, the list of roadway here. They're all listed on the slides. Those are Cape Seal and microsurfacing. Meadow Oak, which is a subdivision, all those roads are listed. It will be Cape Seal. Wakaiva Park subdivision, all the roads are listed there. There will be Cape Seal. And also, if you look at this map here, it gives you a conceptual view of where all these roads are located within the city of Apopka. So you see that there is a balance of how these roads are being selected. Now the next slide here is the Northwest Recreation Facility. An assessment was made of the roadway and the parking area pavement condition of this. And our recommendation for the rehabilitation is as follows. The main entrance and adjoining area, shown in pink, which you will see from the next slide, have a deficiency that need to be corrected using mill and overlay. The parking area shows in yellow have poor and good pavement structure, but show effect of oxidation that can be rejuvenated by the application of a sealing coat prior to restriping. And you can see from the slide here, those that you look in purple, mill and overlay, and the seal coat, and the restripe with those that are located in yellow. The total cost to perform this operation, this paving operation, is approximately $3 million. $1.8 million was already allocated in the street improvement fund and was approved in the fiscal year 22-23 budget. The additional $1.2 million that is required will be made available from the general fund via a budget amendment later this evening. And with that, if you have any question for me.
Any questions for Dio?
No, I'm kind of happy to see a lot of the streets are being repaved and some of the potholes and that are being attended to. I don't see anything up by us on the north side. No. No.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll be on the next list.
Correct. Maybe.
Yeah.
Mr. Banks?
Just question, you know, we have some of the more historic area of central Apopka there with the brick roads that are really, really rough. I mean, what are the thoughts along that line? Are we?
We have $75,000 in the budget.
$75,000 to lift
So
them
basically, it's every
Okay,
year.
so
it's every
some of the
year.
worst-
Right, we are retrofitting every year. And this year, I think we do have a contract on board, so you may see better progress.
And I didn't know if there was a historical, you know, I want to stay respectful to those things, but,
Oh,
you know,
there is.
they're really
Yeah.
it's really rough driving through there. So yeah, if we can raise up those, then that'll be a lot better.
Yeah, that's correct.
Commissioner Smith?
I'm fine. I see the roads that I've received complaints from citizens about on the list, and so they'll be happy. And we have that done by Friday, right?
This Friday or next Friday? Commissioner Nesta?
No questions.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you so much.
Dio.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we look for a motion to approve the FY 22-23 roadway resurfacing program, including roadway and parking lot improvements at the Northwest Recreational Facility.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, Edward. Going to go over our CARES money.
All right, Mayor and Commissioners. So bear with me today. I have been to speech therapy today, and I am exhausted. I'm worn out. But I've learned some new techniques I hope will help to be a little clearer too. So this evening what I want to do is we've talked about this, our CARES Act money we've talked about over several of our meetings. So I brought back a reconciliation for you for these items. I want to go through each one for you. I know it's a little tedious, but I want to go through it for you and for the public as well, so they can see where these dollars have been allocated so far. So as we go through, you'll see ones where you've already allocated those dollars. And then you'll see ones where I'm asking tonight for you to assign those numbers. Now, what I want to say is when I say assign those numbers, you're only assigning them to this item tonight. These items will come back to you for appropriation when we do a budget amendment. So it will come back to you with a budget amendment that will explain each actual item as we budget it to appropriate before we can actually spend those dollars. But so if you look at the top, in July of 21, we received half of our $7 million. In July of 22, we received the other half. And that's exactly how the Treasury Department said they would do it, and they did exactly what they said. If you recall, in your 22 budget, you allocated $1 million for resurfacing for 22. Dollars Road we did a complete resurface, build and resurface of that road. You can see that was $783,000. It is completed. Camp Weewa, your sewer match. This is your sewer match to convert Camp Weewa to sewer. And you can see we've allocated $250,000. That's in progress. Your fire exhaust system for your fire vehicles was $234,000. That is completed. Your cemetery improvements that you approved were $618,000. And if you've had a chance to get to the cemetery, you can see that a lot of those roads, they're very nice. They're paved now. We don't have any potholes. The dirt roads have been paved. We still are working on the columbariums, which, you'll see that as we get some more information. We're getting ready to have a meeting on those, and you'll see some more of that as it comes back as well. The Cedar Oaks Stormwater Project, if you recall, you approved the $250,000 for that stormwater fix or correction at Cedar.
And we got pipes out there out here, so we're.
That's what I heard, so progress is good there, so you have that. If you recall, and Gio just mentioned to you, in your budget for 23, you appropriate another $1 million of these dollars for street resurfacing. So those items have already been appropriated, they've already been budgeted, the amendments have already been done. I showed you which ones have been completed, the ones that are in progress, so you know where those monies are. So this next section are dollars that, like I said, I'm just asking for you tonight just to assign them. We will come back to you with each item in a budget amendment or a contract or an agreement for any of those items that you decide that you want to do those projects or you want to do those programs. So the first one is our sanitation trucks. As you know, we lost 3 in a fire. And as you recall, we purchased 2 diesel trucks that we're using temporarily right now to get us through. And the plan was that we would sell those 2 diesel trucks back. And I think it nets about right around $300,000, $320,000. And we would apply that, and we're going to use $1 million of this CARES Act money to replace those trucks because those 4 trucks were about $1.3 million. Now, we will bring this back to you shortly because Josh is ready to go. He needs to get them purchased. So we will bring this back to you with a budget amendment probably at the next meeting, and he'll be able to we'll be able to show you all of those trucks and how that works.
Can I just for a moment, because I know we did discuss that, can you just reiterate how much the insurance paid for the damaged trucks?
I think the insurance was about, and don't quote me on this number, but it's an estimate. I think the insurance was close to $300,000 for all 3.
Okay.
So, and again, if you remember, we had the rent trucks too. So and Josh did a remarkable job. I mean, our citizens didn't even see an interruption in service at all, hardly. So he did a remarkable job, but we got to give him these trucks or he's going to fall behind. So, okay. But you're right, Commissioner, it was around $300,000, I think, for those 3 trucks. And then we're going to get $320,000 back for the 2 that we sell back because we elected to sell the diesels back for CNG because it makes more sense and for the future, it's a better payback. Plus, it's a cleaner burning truck. So the next time you'll see is LED lighting for all of our city buildings. And like I said, some of you I've gone over this list with, and I mentioned these to you. What we've done is we've had our facilities division went out and looked at all of our buildings to kind of find out what would it cost to change all of our lights to upgraded LED lighting. One of the issues we've had is the lights are so old, and the old style of lights, they require a lot of maintenance. But they also use a lot of electricity. So what AJ in our facilities department did was he went out, he got a quote to change all of our buildings out. What would it cost to change them all out? And what would we save? So we have an estimate, we have some numbers that roughly will save about $50,000 a year. So it's a pretty good payback in this option. Plus, we don't have to change the lights out as much, so he won't have to do as much maintenance on lights. And this price will do all of our buildings. Northwest, Frank Carlson, our fire stations. The only one that we're kind of holding back on is our police department. And that's because, as you know, we're getting ready to come to you with the design phase of the new complex, so we feel it's probably better not to put those dollars into that building right now. The next item you see is just grounding and lightning protection. You might ask yourself, what is this? Well, one of the issues we've had, and I know that Hitler is thrilled with this item, because for years, between the VFW, City Hall, the Fire Station 1, we have had, when we have a lightning storm, and sometimes don't have to be much of a lightning storm, he loses all kinds of equipment. And we've always had to fix every time we have a lightning storm. So we've had to fix a lot of equipment. We've put a lot of money into that equipment. Well, what we've had is again, AJ with our facilities is going around, looking to our facilities, has found out that we have a grounding issue, a lightning and grounding issue in this area. It's our responsibility. So we decided this would probably be a place to assign some dollars here to fix that issue, to help prevent the ongoing problems that we have every time we have a storm, yet we lose so much equipment. Again, this one will come back to you once we find out what the issue is and have a solution. We will bring that back to you before we actually amend the budget for this item, so you can see what the actual problem is. And then the next three items you'll see is Frank Carlton improvements. If you've been in Frank Carlton, it needs a little sprucing up. The flooring is pretty bad. The ceiling's pretty bad. We have some issues in our bathrooms, our kitchen area. But one of the things we have, if you notice, we've worked on a parking lot outside, and you recently, or I think one budget back, you approved the new storage facility, which we're going to architectural review now, so we can bid that out, to take down those old buildings here next to Frank Carlson and put up one nice storage building that we can keep everything for our cemetery division and for our recreation teams. So we felt this is probably a good spot to put some money to help spruce up Frank Carlson, because of our building, it's one of our buildings that's it's a little rough. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit. 8th Street stormwater piping and playground. So this is across from our fuel island. The property that we own on 8th Street, across from the fuel island, we have a stormwater issue there. If you go down and visit that property, you will see that we don't really have piping. We just have a big drainage where the water runs off the street. So we were, in this plan, what I think our plan is to fix that piping issue. And then, as you know, this is a piece of property we've been trying to sell in hopes of maybe some affordable housing in this area. So I think we have to make these improvements or clean up this in order to be able to use the property, because as you see, if you look at the property, you'll see that drainage is a big portion of the property that needs to be cleaned up. And then what we also have proposed in this was, this might be a good place to put a pocket playground or a pocket park. We don't have one in this area, down in this area. So we're kind of thinking maybe we'll assign some dollars here to fix that, maybe get that where we can get some affordable housing, but also have a pocket park or in playground in that area to kind of, convert and clean that 8th Street section up. Because as you know, the city no longer has any use for that. We've moved all of our streets and public works people down to Cleveland. So that's what that item is. The next item you see is City Hall improvements, interior improvements. Well, as you know, you've budgeted for here in the City Council chambers. And now that Rob has got his equipment up and running, we're going to be doing some improvements in here, from lighting, painting. We're going to do some improvements to I think we have to do ADA ramp for the dais. So we have some improvements that have already been budgeted, and we have money for those. What we don't have funding for, and we haven't really actually addressed this in years, is the rest of City Hall. As you know, if you walk around, you'll see the wallpaper's coming off the wall. It's pretty shabby, and so this is an item where we can maybe use some of these dollars to help spruce that up. As you know, these are items that you don't do all the time. These are things that you do every 10, 15 years. So we figured between Frank Carlton and this building, those are two buildings that probably are that are a little shabby. We haven't really done much to. So I want to stop here, and what I want to say is, for these dollars, I think it's important to realize these are one time. When this is gone, we won't get this anymore. And so I think it's a good use of this money or these dollars to use it for things like this that will have a long-term impact, fixing these buildings, fixing these items, changing lighting, will have a long-term impact for these dollars, especially since they're one time because we won't get them again. So the next three that you see are actually programs. If you recall, you had a presentation on the Early Learning Coalition, and you saw that presentation. There is a reading mentoring program that there may be some partnership opportunities for. And I think, Mayor, this is with Melissa Bird and her team. This is one of their programs. Again, keep in mind, I know you haven't seen a lot of details on some of these. We're just assigning these dollars tonight. You may decide to assign them tonight, but when we bring those programs back, you may decide, I don't want to do this program, I only want to do one of these programs, or I may want to do a couple of these programs, but we're assigning those dollars tonight to those line items. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to put them to that line. We're not committing to these programs. They will come back for you to commit to those programs if you wish. And then Reimagine, if you recall, Reimagine came and did a presentation. Again, theirs was a small ask, but these three items are very similar in nature for the community, helping the community out. And so these are programs that are a couple of them are 3-year programs. The ones are definitely a 3-year program, but a couple of them are 3-year programs. And keep in mind, these dollars, we have to commit by 24 and spend by 26. So if you elect to do one of these programs, you will have enough funding and you will be able to spend that for that program, commit to that program for that 3-year period, if that's what you wish to do. So keep that in mind. And then the final item you see on here is the CDBG housing grant that you just approved the ranking for. I put some additional dollars here. I'm not sure it will take this much, but I put some additional dollars here. As you spoke about earlier, if we can only do 10 of those projects, and the other 6 of those projects, we need $50,000 to complete those projects. Correct, you're correct, the mayor's correct, and Mr. Foster did a great job. We can't mix those funds with the grants, but we can close that grant out with those projects. And then if the council wishes to, hey, let's take some of our CARES Act money and finish those projects off so we can make sure we finish all 16 on the list. These dollars you can spend for that purpose, so and that would be outside of a grant.
So we can partner with.
And you can partner because you have discretion over this money. The grant money you cannot make, like you were saying.
So where did you get this, like, you have almost an exact amount of what we're going to allocate? I mean, everybody else had just kind of a general number, but I just realized this one has $135,837.33.
Commissioner Velasquez, that's a plug number. That is a number that I put there because I don't know what that number will be. And to be able to allocate the full $7 million, that number is basically
That was what was left over?
That was what was left over from everything.
Oh,
now, keep in mind, as you do these projects, for example, if the solid waste trucks only require $900,000, if you only need $900,000 at the end of the day, I will come back to you with this reconciliation and show you spent $900,000, you have an additional $100,000, and you can reassign those dollars in the future. So as we appropriate these lines, I will keep you informed. I will come back, keep you informed, so you know how much your running total is.
Okay, so
they're all estimates.
The only thing is that when Early Learning Coalition came, they just made a presentation. We didn't agree.
No.
At all.
No.
They just made a presentation.
Right.
We asked a few questions and.
Right.
And so we did the same with the reading mentoring program. So I feel like we're allocating this money and keeping it there, but we don't really have that much information.
Well, and again, you're just assigning these dollars here. So if this is something you wish and they come back and give you a contract, give you an agreement, if this is something the council wants to do, we will put an actual dollar to that program if you decide from this assigned money. If you say no, we're not going to do that program, the council says no, we don't want to do that, I will come back to you and we will have these dollars, extra dollars, that if we don't spend it on that program, that we can spend on a different project.
So what if we say, okay, we don't want all these programs, now you have this extra money, do we have something to back up to say we rather use this money in Plan B? I mean, this is Plan A.
Right, this is Plan A.
So is there a Plan B?
There is not a Plan B. This is Plan A, and again, they're assigned, they're not appropriated. So if the council comes to me and says, Edward, I don't want to do, if you decide I don't want to do the mentoring program, I want to reallocate those money somewhere else, then I will come back to you, reassign those dollars. These are not committed until
I
you
understand what
appropriate.
you're saying is, but right now, there's no Plan B.
No.
This is all Plan A.
This is Plan A. This is a start. Right.
Are we
Plan A.
going to work on a Plan B just in case we decide that some of this money, we're going to say, it'd be better use if we did something else?
Actually what I would say is, when you meet with me in your briefings, if there's things that you'd like to see, maybe let me know that, and I can bring that in my list so I can share it with the whole city council. Again, tonight you're only assigning. What will happen is when the budget resolution comes, that's when you actually appropriate. So that's when you will see these appropriations come back to you for their final contracts or their final agreements.
When will that come to us?
They will come depending on when we receive that information. The solid waste trucks will come soon because Josh has the information and he's ready to purchase those. So you will probably see that on your next meeting. The other items will come to you as we have the actual contract agreement or plan. And then you can, at that time, approve it or not approve it as well. So you're not committed at the resolution time. That's based on the council's.
So, I mean, but the presentations that came before us were just presentations. Are they intending to come back to us?
If you would like to see them come back and do a presentation, give you more information, absolutely.
Okay.
If like I said, if my consensus from you is, I want more on this program, bring them back, let's talk about it, and then you can decide if that's a program you want to
Okay, that's fair.
pursue.
Sure, that's fair.
Mr. Bankston? Good. Mr. Smith?
I just have one question. I know that we had a conversation before in reference to some additional funding from this for the recreation programs at the Bitterdine Community Center.
Commissioner, those dollars are already in your current budget.
Okay.
So we've earmarked those dollars for those programs, for those events, in your general fund budget.
All right. Fine.
Mr. Nesta?
The only holdup similar to Commissioner Velasquez is just the Early Learning Coalition and the Reading Mentoring Program. Just those are variables that there's a lot of open-ended questions there, so I'm not super comfortable. I understand that we're just assigning it; it's not committing. But I remember last year, Commissioner Velasquez specifically requested that I wasn't here, so you guys have a say in where these dollars go. And although they were approved, it doesn't seem like there was really kind of a discussion about where it's going. So what I would ask is that we remove Early Learning Coalition and the Reading Mentoring Program and kind of give us all homework to say, look, next meeting, let's come up with some, or even provide to you and say, you can disseminate to everybody else. Here's what our ideas are where we can maybe spend that money. And then if it does end up back at the Early Learning Coalition, that's what everyone wants, then great. But I just think having a little more input on those would be very beneficial because I'm just not comfortable allocating $400,000 to two programs that I don't even understand what they do.
And we can do that. If that's the wishes of the council, we can remove those two and not assign those dollars, leave that balance here for future meeting. Are you okay with the reimagine portion?
Yes.
Yeah, that's 15,000.
Okay.
And I think adding like a
information on that
deadline
one.
for us to bring something back, I think would just be beneficial that we're not kicking this down the road and all that. I mean, we got plenty of time, but why not just do it next meeting or add it to our homework list? So.
Or if you bring me ideas and we briefings and things, I can bring them back to city council.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, that would be my ask. If I'm happy to move to accept this if we can just remove those two, make that kind of a general fund, and then come back next week or next meeting and possibly have some ideas, or maybe next month at some point.
Are there any additional guidelines that we've been given other than the ones we previously had as to how these funds can be spent?
No.
Okay.
General government service.
Yeah, because that's a.
My only concern is that you do them on one-time purchases or a program that ends. Because if you don't, and you allocate them to operating, it's another place you have to make up in your next year's budget for ongoing operating. That's the only, and the Treasury has encouraged us to do that as well. Use this for items because they said, this is it, you're not getting any more, so.
I'm sorry, repeat that one again?
So, my only request would be that you use them for items that are one-time, capital or programs that run out, that only last a certain period of time, because whatever you fund tonight, if it's part of an operating ongoing, you're gonna have to fund that in your budget next year.
Oh, okay.
So that's one thing I'm saying, and like I said, the Treasury is encouraging us, do not commit these funds
Ongoing.
past, right, because you won't get any more, you'll have to make that up in your budget.
Okay, because it's just a one-time.
Right.
So we are going to go, and then we're just going to take off this list, the early learning and reading. And
Correct.
that's almost $400,000. But we will leave Reimagine. And the reason why I feel like we should leave Reimagine is because each of us, I've been actively volunteering and working with her, and she actually has a program that is beneficial, and we are seeing results from it. So and she made a presentation, and she, I think, was very reserved in what she wanted. We know what she's doing, and it's very local, and it is giving in our community right now.
Okay, absolutely.
I would agree with that. And I would say, because both of those were similar programs, take the other program there, that near 200,000. One area would be our IT needs that we're piecemealing that. And if we can, just more chunks in that, I'd like to at least look at what some of those needs are to just move us ahead. So that's not burdening on next year's
And
budget.
we can look at those items.
Just one area.
And can you provide us some more information on the Read and Mentor program, the partnership that you're referencing?
Yes, I'll get you some.
Because we know because of the pandemic, reading is critical right about now. And so if you have some information, I really would like to take a look at that.
I'll get some more information on that and get that to you all.
We can probably get her to come out and do a presentation.
Yeah,
It won't
that would be
be
good.
Melissa Bird, whoever, it's a program out at Zellwood Elementary that they're really high on. And that was the one we were gonna kind of pattern after it. Yeah, so I can definitely have her come out.
Yes.
Early Coalition now has been around forever. They own that space, so it's not, they're very well respected. That's fine, I understand, you want to put that aside for now. But I do want to open it up for anybody from the public who want to speak on this real quick. Anybody have a, sure, come on up.
I got just two questions in regards to the sanitation trucks. I didn't know if the city had looked at the new, electric trucks coming out. From the sanitation standpoint. I know that the state is giving out money for those particular type of devices, so that may be something you guys want to look into. And then, since we got extra money, this might be a good time to also look at the sidewalks along Lake, if that's an item that can be put into the agenda. And also maybe look at putting some improvements along the bike trail that comes through the city. Because if you look at it, particularly in Winter Garden, they've used that as a good spur to kind of bring people downtown. So I think we can probably look at different sculptures, something along that area to at least boost the attractiveness of it. A lot of those trees down there is dead. It's not maintained well. So I just think if we got extra money that we don't know what we're going to do with it, we can take a little hard look at where some areas we can actually impact to make the beautification things better downtown. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? All right. I'll look for a motion to approve the assignments of the remaining coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds as part of the American Rescue Plan.
So moved.
Minus the two items, Early Learning Coalition and the Reading Mentoring Program.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Next up, ordinance number 2955.
Okay, I'm gonna take a 2-minute break, so I'm gonna step away because I have to go to the bathroom.
She's gonna go, I'm gonna run too.
So money looking good? Good job.
We do have Daniel Webster's.
Oh, good.
DC, Bill Posey's. It's a lot of this, they're part of the God Squad, and they were in Tallahassee. So he said, yes. I said, yeah, he is. I mean, he didn't know what.
Shield.
So,
Chairman, give you a shout out.
Thank you.
Did you go?
I've been here since 5.
All right. Go ahead, Susan.
Ordinance number 2955. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the future land use element of the Apopka Comprehensive Plan of the City of Apopka, changing the future land use designation from county rural to city mixed use for certain real property generally located north of Keene Road and east of Ocoee Apopka Road, owned by Ronnie B. Phillips and Wanda R. Phillips, comprising 5.71 acres more or less, and providing for severability and an effective date.
Any changes, Jim?
No changes, Mayor.
All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Now we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve or adopt ordinance number 2955.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2961.
Ordinance number 2961, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the future land use element of the Apopka Comprehensive Plan of the City of Apopka, changing the future land use designation from commercial to residential medium for certain real property generally located on the northwest corner of Michael Gladden Boulevard and Washington Avenue, owned by Chester Leon Simmons and Deborah Simmons,
comprising .56 acres more or less, providing for severability and for an effective date.
Any changes, Jim?
No changes.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for motion to adopt ordinance number 2961.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2962.
Ordinance number 2962, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from T Transitional District to KPIMU Kelly Park Interchange Mixed Use, and assigning interchange, employment, village center, and transition overlay districts. For certain real property generally located on the southwest corner of State Road 429 and Kelly Park Road, comprising of 259 acres more or less, and owned by Kelly Park VB Development LLC, providing for directions to the Community Development Director, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Any changes, Jim?
No changes.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for motion to adopt ordinance number 2962.
I have one quick question, and I hate, sorry, to slow this down. I know we had a gas station and storage facility going through DRC this morning in this area. Connectivity was a question and a concern. Are we going to handle that well here?
This is just it's just a change of zoning. And,
Right.
So I'm not really that worried. We've got another connection going to the
Okay.
south and, as part of this, so.
Just making sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So we got a motion by,
So moved.
got a motion by Commissioner Bankson.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2963.
Ordinance number 2963, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the future land use element of the Apopka Comprehensive Plan of the City of Apopka, changing the future land use designation from residential low suburban to commercial for certain real property generally located on the southwest corner of Pond Can Road and Plymouth Sorrento Road, owned by Pond Can Road Property LLC, comprising 14.95 acres more or less, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Any changes?
No changes.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 2963.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2964.
Ordinance number 2964, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from T Transitional District and Agriculture District to CC Community Commercial for certain real property generally located on the southwest corner of Pond Can Road and Plymouth Sorrento Road, comprising 14.95 acres more or less, and owned by Pond Can Road Property LLC, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Any changes, Jim?
No changes.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 2964.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bankson. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2965.
Ordinance number 2965, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the future land use element of the Apopka Comprehensive Plan of the City of Apopka, changing the future land use designation from agricultural to commercial for certain real property generally located on the southeast corner of Lester Road and Plymouth Sorrento Road, owned by Kathy Uanili Chung and Yuna Amy Chung, comprising 5.86 acres, more or less, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Any changes?
No changes.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 2965.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2966.
Ordinance number 2966, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from agriculture district to CC Community Commercial for certain real property generally located on the southeast corner of Lester Road and Plymouth Sorrento Road, comprising 5.86 acres more or less, and owned by Kathy Yulin He Chung and Yuna Amy Chung, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Any changes?
No changes.
Okay. Anybody from public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 2966.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2968.
Ordinance number 2968, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending Ordinance 2449, which is known as the Mullinex Ford Plan Development PD, generally located north of State Road 436 and east of Roger Williams Road, comprising 21.51 acres more or less, owned by Mullinex Ford of Central Florida, Inc., providing for directions to the Community Development Director, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Okay.
Jim?
Oh, a little bit of change. The Mullinex PUD itself, or PD itself for the master plan is this, it's basically the same as was presented at the previous meeting. There was also a lot of discussion regarding the graphics on the side of the, or on the front of the building for the new addition. And this is what was basically presented, is the three different banners that are in front. There was some discussion regarding additional banners or additional lifestyle graphics, and those have been dropped. The applicant is willing to work with us if this is something that City Council wants to proceed with, is the three original lifestyle graphics that were presented. As part of the packet, Michael Rodriguez, the city attorney, was able to work with the applicant's attorney in regards to some language that is presented in your packet, and basically it reads lifestyle. Excuse me. It also coincides. It also brings in the master plan as part of this PUD agreement. But as part of it, this is something for your consideration: is the lifestyle graphics. The developer will be permitted to install a maximum of 3 images, 16 by 24, depicting automobile and truck vehicles in various lifestyle settings, the lifestyle graphics, in other words. On the side of the new, actually it's on the front of the service building, on the south side, it's primarily on this new building as presented. We'll have to work on some of the language for that portion. But one of the main things is that it's primarily just graphics. There's no language. It's not going to say Ford F-150 or Bronco or anything like that. It's basically to show a nature type of picture with one of the vehicles in it. These are, so in other words, it can't contain any pricing or verbiage. So the lifestyle graphics will only be applicable within the plan development and shall have no effect elsewhere within the corporate city limits of Apopka. They can be changed as frequently as semi-annually, subject to the review and approval by the Community Development Department prior to any such change in payment for the normal sign permit fee. Lifestyle graphics shall not require a permit. That's just something that it would be just submitted for our consideration. And the graphics will be designed, installed, and maintained to meet all applicable building code requirements, including wind load specifications. That was one of the things that our building official wanted to assure that that it can withstand wind loads. So that's for your consideration is this type of a lifestyle graphic.
All right. Any questions for Jim? Okay.
Well, I had a quick question. So let's say worst case scenario, they don't come back to you to get approvals. They do start putting marketing material on this, of pricing and what have you. Is it a code enforcement issue then that it turns into?
It would be a code enforcement issue, because at that point, then what they have are it's signage that would be inconsistent with the city's sign code.
Okay.
Okay.
And what you just read to us, is that in writing?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
it
it's
is.
in your packet.
Right.
It's in your
This,
packet.
what we did was the previous approval, previous PD, the PD was actually the plan. This was done under the previous LDC, so there was no actual development agreement, which dictated the terms. So because they've sought an amendment to the PD, what we have drafted is a new development agreement that covers this project. So a lot of the terms from the original PD that were really much illustrated in the drawings have been transferred over to an actual developer's agreement. And this was done in conjunction with with counsel for the applicant. And now we have a developer's agreement, which is enforceable just like any other developer's agreement that is approved by this council.
There's just one thing I'm seeing on page 344 of our packet, or page 2 of that agreement, it references the ridge.
That would be a typo because it's there. We have done, the final draft has been cleaned up. Staff used the Ridge's development agreement as the template, so we were cutting and moving and cutting and pasting. That one might have gotten in your packet, but the actual final drafts that were agreed upon by the two parties contain the correct language.
Good, okay.
We were working on this till about last night.
Yeah.
To get it cleaned up for today.
We wanted to make sure we got it into the packet at least, so you had something to see with the graphic information.
Cool.
Any other questions? All right, anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing.
Nope, got one.
Rogers Beckett, 7 West Main Street. I'm just kind of confused. So they're basically stating that this is lifestyle graphic, but not signage. Is that what we're getting at? Because if you look at the sign, they got a Ford truck. So to me, that's still signage. That's just my aspect of it. So if you get into this realm, it's just going to open up other things that's going to happen further down the road. So you might want to be careful how you handle that.
Thank you. All right. With that, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 2968.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, ordinance number 2969.
Ordinance number 2969, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, to extend its territorial and municipal limits to annex pursuant to Florida Statute 171.044, the hereinafter described land situated and being in Orange County, Florida, owned by Tyler Crusades, Inc., located north and east of US 441, east of Apopka Airport Road, and west of Hermit Smith Road, providing for directions to the city clerk, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
No changes, sir.
Okay. Anybody from public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 2969.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta. Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2976.
Ordinance number 2976, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, to extend its territorial and municipal limits to annex pursuant to Florida Statute 171.044, the hereinafter described land situated and being in Orange County, Florida, owned by Robert Grossenbacher, 1/5 interest, Scott Grossenbacher and Todd Grossenbacher, 1/5 interest, Carol Ditch Trust, 1/5 interest, Mary Frisbee, 1/5 interest, Elizabeth Townsend, 1/5 interest, located north of US 441 Connector Road, east of State Road 429, and west of Plymouth Sorrento Road, comprising 8.39 acres, providing for directions to the city clerk, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Roxanne?
Roxanne Reed with Community Development Department. The request is to accept the first reading of ordinance number 2976 and hold it over for the second reading on November 2nd. The location, as was stated, is 1132 Plymouth Sorrento Road, and the tract size is about 8.39 acres. The subject property is contiguous to the city limits and is eligible for annexation pursuant to Florida statute, and the applicant intends to construct a commercial site on the property. Development Review Committee recommends approval of the annexation, and the City Council recommended motion for City Council is to accept the first reading of ordinance number 2976, hold it over for a second reading and adoption on November 2nd.
Any questions for Roxanne?
Is this going to be part of the Florida, because to the west of 429 here, it's the, I forgot what we're calling it, Florida.
Floridian Townsend?
That's it, that.
It is not part of that. It's a
Same
separate
developer though,
development.
correct?
Separate development.
But same developer?
Same developer,
No.
different developer.
It's not?
No.
Okay.
Standard Investments is not the
Is
same
it Benj?
developer?
Tony Benj
It is,
is
okay, it is Tony Benj.
with Standard Investments.
So that is the
this
same
is
developer
his.
then? Okay.
Yeah, he's got all kind of, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's the same LLC that they're
Yeah.
for the RFP.
Yeah.
So, Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay, anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve ordinance number 2976 at first reading and hold over for a second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankston, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Resolution 2022-47.
Resolution 2022-47, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the budget for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022, and ending September 30, 2023, providing for a budget amendment.
Resolution 22-47 before you is a budget resolution, budget amendment resolution. If you recall from your consent agenda this evening, you authorized the execution of the agreement, a 50-50 match award agreement for the conversion of package plants of our mobile home parks to our city, to get them into our city's sewer system. So this is the funding that has the match. It's an impact fee match, as you see here with the grant. But keep in mind, we each mobile home park will pay their 50%. So we're just upfronting, and from a budget, from an appropriation standpoint, we have to upfront or show the budget amendment, but they will be paying 50%, and the grant will pay their 50%. So it's all on the applicant or the person who comes online, and then 50% of the grant, and it will come at that time. Agreements will have to come back to you for those as we work through those.
And the reason this is really important is, you know, we have a BMAP, a 20-year BMAP, and so over the next 20 years, I know it's 70% reduction, Vlad, somewhere like that, just roundabout number, 70% reduction in nitrogen and phosphorus. And so this helps us meet our BMAP without us having come out of pocket with additional dollars. So it's a great win for us. It doesn't cost us anything, and yet it helps us drive our BMAP down and helps us meet those nutrient goals that will fast approach. So.
And then the second item on this budget amendment, as you heard from your resurfacing from Dio this evening on resurfacing, he had 1.8 million that was allocated. We're taking 1.2 million from general fund reserves and allocating it so he can complete and do all of those roads for a total of $3 million.
Any questions for Edward? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve resolution 2022-47.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Edward, anything?
City council reports first.
I'm sorry. Yes, bottom. Yes. City Council. Commissioner Velasquez.
Okay, let me see, I typed up all my stuff. Okay, let's go to the Heart and Soul Music Festival, Saturday, October 8th. Obviously, I wasn't invited to the party. I was a little offended. I just thought it was unprofessional to kind of present the key to the city of Apopka to the Isley brothers, and we were not invited. I mean, the only commissioner on stage was Commissioner Alexander Smith, and I did tell him I was going to call him out. When they kind of broke for intermission, the MC that was up there, they thanked the mayor of the city of Apopka, and they thanked Commissioner Alexander Smith. I just thought it was kind of odd that we were not invited to go to this event. I think it's important that we should have all been invited to this. During budget, you needed the entire council to agree to open up the amphitheater for promoters to come in for paid events. And so when you went to this event, you basically presented yourself and just Commissioner Alexander Smith. And I just thought it was unprofessional not to invite or even mention it to us. And I just think the key of this to the city of Apopka is sort of a prestigious presentation, and we should have been there. You had, I believe, from Orlando, you had Regina Hill and another commissioner from another city, yet you didn't have any of the commissioners representing our council.
It wasn't we, that was they invited, not us. That was not,
Well, then the promoters should be
Well,
told that if they invite one, they need to invite all the commissioners, because it is because of this council that they have the ability to rent the amphitheater and bring in paid events. But you know what? I hold you, Mayor, accountable for that, because if you went, you should have at least told either Ed to say, you know what, the invitation to the commissioners to also attend, and that didn't happen. But you went on stage and you could have said, the city of this key to the city of Apopka is presented by Brian Nelson and the commissioners. But only one commissioner was mentioned, and that was Commissioner Smith. So and you were there with Rod Love, and Greg Jackson was taking photographs. So in that sense, I hope that with future paid events, that doesn't happen again, because I thought it was unprofessional and it was disrespectful to the commissioners that didn't show up. I want to thank Jerome Miller, because I showed up, because it's in my backyard. And he was the first person I met, and he was very gracious in staying with me and walking the entire concert. And we were able to talk to different neighbors and residents. And so, I mean, overall, it was a great concert. It was a sold out crowd. The music was fantastic. I'm just not happy with how I had to go to the concert on my own and then find out and see Commissioner Smith on stage, and of course you presenting a key. And not only that, but also a humanitarian award to Ms. Francine Boykin, which is a well-deserved award, except it would have been nice to have even extended to all her volunteers at the museum to be there to see this award given to her and to the commissioners. So that's that on the heart and soul, and I hope it doesn't occur for the next paid events that come, because we are giving our amphitheater to paid promoters in order to raise revenue for the city. But at the same time, we have to let them know that the reason why they have that opportunity is because this council, on behalf of the taxpayers of the city, are saying it's okay to come into the city of Apopka and have these paid events. I just think it's a courtesy, that's all. Other than that, we had a busy month with the Hispanic Heritage Month, and this past Saturday, Miss Maribel Brinkley from the museum had the end of the month celebration. She had a wonderful lineup. Unfortunately, I don't know if it was the marketing, we didn't have a lot of residents. I was between the museum and here, the city of Apopka, because we were also hosting the Miss Apopka competition here. And we had 9 candidates, and we did crown one lucky young woman. Her name is Sarah Sarver. She is our new Miss Apopka 2023. And it was a great event. Let me see what else. Oh, we also had at the Apopka Museum on Thursday, October 13th, and that was with Miss Shantae with Reimagine, where she had the night at the museum, which was very successful, was sold out, 30 families, and we had a special guest, and we had, she graciously accepted, and she came and she was our reader, and that was the new OCPS school superintendent, Mrs. Maria Vasquez, and we really appreciated her presence. We had a very good time, and I thought that was a great event. And that's the reason why, with the money that we are, I'm supporting the funding for Reimagine, is because these are the type of events that she puts on and she puts out, and really benefits our community. And so this is why I support her. So on that note, I'm done. Thank
Commissioner
you.
Bankson?
Obviously, we're still getting rid of the storm residue here. We have some mounds out on our road, but I was pleased that the city jumped right on. There was an issue over on Spring Glen Lane, and there was a washout there. Literally, they couldn't back out of their driveway because the sidewalk had literally collapsed there, and got right on that. They're very happy that we were able to resolve that, and so thank you to staff that took care of that. I wanted to bring up something that I was contacted, maybe, I don't know if you guys were or not, by one of our citizens, but just about our workshop for the South Apopka thing. And I know that you had brought it up, and, just out of respect to me, allowing me to be a part of that. But they had requested, because of the storm, because of different things going on, that different ones that they would rather have a little bit more time. I just wanted to say for me, so that I looked at this, well, how would the city be best served? And obviously, Commissioner-elect Becker will be a big part of that playing out. So for me, I can really give, either just in a few minutes here and even next meeting, perspective from where I'm coming from. I think it's a wonderful endeavor to pursue, but the bottom line for me is it what the citizens want? I know that'll be part of this whole process. Looking at the cost, how do we approach it? Is it best for them, Orange County? For me, it's like, okay, then, if we're going to take that on, I would like to see Orange County bring up infrastructure so that it's an EV. Yeah, there's all those questions, but the point being is, having that meeting and having Commissioner-elect there, but not able to be that involved in that, knowing that you're going to really help shepherd how that goes forward, with the rest. I'm willing to wait on that. So that being said, I hadn't thought about that until he had expressed that. And he said, again, this was just one person that reached out to me, so I don't know. Obviously, this is for the citizens' sake. And, I just thought that might be, rather than, again, Commissioner-elect waiting through a whole workshop only to maybe reiterate some of those things and be able to be part of that conversation. I'm just thinking what best serves our city, and I'm willing to do that. So not sure where everybody else is at on that.
Well, if you're asking me, it would give us a little more time. I just had our first meeting with the county this week, kind of going over some things. So another week or two sure wouldn't hurt me from giving you a better workshop. But I mean, it was your suggestion, Commissioner Nessa, if you're willing to.
I am okay with and agreeable to move it as long as we make a date tonight that we're committing to.
All right.
In November.
So he takes office the 8th.
My last
midnight
day
of the 8th.
is the 7th.
Yeah. So anytime after the. Now, do you want to? The only thing is, I think Commissioner-elect Becker was going to be sworn in before the council meeting on whatever date that is.
16th.
So if we did it on, I don't know if Commissioner-elect Becker wanted to go earlier so we could do it that week before. Do you want to, just don't want to go much later than that.
And I agree. I think once we get to the holidays, this is going to happen. So what I will.
If I may interject.
Wait, doesn't he get sworn in the 9th?
Well, no. His term becomes effective on the 9th. Okay. Swearing in is really ceremonial.
Oh, okay.
But he does become council member, commissioner, on at 12:01 a.m. on the 9th of November. Okay. So you can have the workshop prior to the second council meeting of the 16th.
Okay.
And he can participate because he will be a commissioner, just hasn't been ceremoniously sworn in. But the term takes effect 12:01 a.m.
Okay.
Commissioner Becker.
The 9th?
I don't know how high this thing goes, but we'll test it out. That's the height. Again, anytime, any place, I'm ready for the conversation. In a workshop setting, I don't have to be in an official capacity to lend a voice. So whether it's the 25th, the 9th, the 16th, I'm ready to go. So you all decide, I'll be there.
So how's the 9th look? Wednesday, the 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock?
Yeah,
What?
that works for me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's,
Is that enough time?
yeah, we'll have a lot more, yes.
Okay.
I'll be a lot closer to where I want to be with it. Okay, so 6 o'clock on the 9th will be a workshop on South Apopka annexation. Okay. All
We're
right.
not moving it again.
Yep, gotcha. Okay. All right. Anything else, Commissioner?
No, that was it. I just had received,
Yeah.
one of our people in the community
Sure.
preferred that as well. So.
Okay, Commissioner Smith.
I wasn't able to attend the Hispanic celebration that they had at the museum because of another engagement, but I did contribute to that event, and I understand it went off well. And like Commissioner Velasquez said, it could have been publicized a little bit more, but we have to do a better job on doing that. I just want to say publicly, I observed, I think that's twice now, that the residents from Clear Lake Estates and Clear Lakes Landing has been in the last couple of council meetings, and tonight they mentioned the other commissioners and the mayor. I guess I operate just a little bit differently. I did go to Clear Lake Estates and Clear Lakes Landing during the storm, and at that time the gates was open, so I was able to drive in and take a look around and observe what they was talking about in reference to the flooding. So I just want to make sure it's known that it's not that I didn't go, I wasn't paying attention, I did go, all right? As well as to Sheila Oaks, I did the same thing during the flood to also check to make sure that that pump was working and what have you. So I'm also concerned about our citizens and what's taking place in the various neighborhoods. So just want to make that public notice that I was there.
Yep. Okay. All right, Commissioner Nesta?
Just to get a couple more details about the annexation itself. So it's the 9th at 6. Is it at the VFW? Would that be the general plan, or it'd be in here?
Here, yeah.
Well, scheduled for here, so.
Okay. And then is that set up as like an agenda, or how does that function exactly? And
It's agendaed, and it's basically like a city council public meeting. The difference with a workshop is that there will be no official action taken. Workshops are basically information gathering, and an opportunity to discuss amongst yourselves the issue that's presented, and to have a presentation. Opinions are split as to whether or not public participation is permitted. There are certain opinions where if there's a public meeting, the expectation is that the public has a right to speak. So public comment may be taken. I'll confirm it. I'll issue an opinion memorandum, but I believe that the recent case law is that if a local government has a public meeting, then there is an expectation for the public to be able to participate in the meeting.
which I think is the whole purpose of that. I think that we need to hear from the public as well as, the only thing I would ask is that hopefully we apply some type of time limit similar to here, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is, consistently. Just to make sure. And then can we make sure that it's posted on the website tomorrow, this week, that the 9th is definitely happening?
The plan is to have it noticed both on our website as well as we were going to do with when it was originally scheduled for next week, as well as an ad placed in the newspaper advertising a public meeting.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Next thing on mine is the Reimagined Communities. They have, and I'm just oddly passionate about this, their seed library. I think it's a super cool program, and we just funded it. So, we earmarked it. So, was hoping we can kind of agree on a location for that. And I think, we discussed the city council City Hall being an incredible location, being centrally located, well lit, easily accessible. So, I don't know if that's something we can make happen. It's a small little library, they call it, but it's just literally a box on a stand that I think would be very easily, and it's a safe area that kids can access. It's close to public transportation, things like that. So I think it would be a beneficial spot to be on City Hall property. I don't know what everyone's thoughts are on that, or.
I thought it was 3 of them.
I thought it was.
I know, but we need one somewhere.
I thought they were going to do one by the firehouse.
Over here?
Yeah, I thought that they had mentioned that.
Is that
Because the fire
solidified?
department was building one, I believe.
Right, they had volunteers.
Is that for sure?
Yeah,
Right here,
yeah,
somewhere over here,
yeah.
in this general area. Okay, as long as we're in this area, I think that's perfect. So that's good. Okay, the next one is in reference to National Night Out. It's been coming up more and more in reference to Rock Springs Ridge, and a lot of us commissioners live in that community, and we've been getting. We've been on the receiving end of a lot of dangerous behavior, threats, harassment, intimidation. The fact that I brought up that there's a safety issue at at the tavern parking lot. That parking lot not only is currently in active code violations, hundreds of thousands of dollars on that property, and at the most recent board meeting, there was physical aggression towards me. There, I mean, it was a pretty aggressive environment, and acts of harassment were definitely happening that I feel have become criminal at this point towards elected officials specifically. And I would ask that Chief McKinley, if you can, just briefly address how we got to, I guess, somewhat this point, not necessarily this point, but how that night transpired, because everyone thinks that I specifically canceled that event and told you what to do.
Commissioner Becker, you forgot to put this back down so I can see it. But I do get to play with it, so I see everybody else play with it, so I get to. And it's way past my bedtime. I will address it. Commissioner Nesta sent an email to Officer Wiggins about some of the conditions at the tavern. I spoke to Commissioner Nesta. It was brought to my attention, the email was. I spoke to Commissioner Nesta on the phone, and in our discussion, we both agreed that it would be in the best interest of the community to continue with the event. At no time did he try to talk me out of it. I explained my position on it. He accepted my position, and that was to continue the event at that time early in the morning when we spoke. I spoke to Officer Wiggins, and I asked him about the conditions because of the hurricane of the parking lot. And he met me out there. We looked at the condition. There was no damage due to the hurricane, but there were some pretty bad conditions out there, to include a large hole where a propane tank had been recently removed from the ground and the dirt not placed back into that. The propane company, the fire department, actually came out and at my request and looked at everything also because of some concerns I had with the property. And they contacted the propane company, and apparently when they pulled the tank out, they didn't have a replacement tank to put back in there. So they left the hole until they got the replacement tank. So we were going to have families and children and everything else. And there were some other things. There was an odor coming from the building from some grease that was back there, and some fryers that looked like the fryers had caught fire and were just stored back there in the property. After my visit, I asked code enforcement to go back out there and look at the trash around the dumpster, the trash around the parking lot. The fire department, I requested they go out there. The trees were going to the entrance were low to the point that they couldn't get the fire truck in there with the ladder if they had to, if the building caught fire. So they're addressing that with with meetings with the current tenant and the owners of the property. At no time did, after I got done with that visit, I came back to my office, I called Mayor Nelson, and I informed him of my findings and my recommendation that we move it to Silver Oaks. Silver Oaks had been planning a national night out without our participation. We were sending a few assets over there, a couple officers over there to participate in their national night out, but they had advertised it. They had a big park. Officer Wiggins and I went over to look at their park and the possibility of just moving national night out over there due to the conditions of the parking lot and the building at the tavern. Mayor Nelson, I didn't really ask his permission either. I just told him that it was my recommendation based on the conditions that we move it National Night Out over to Silver Oak subdivision, which he said that was fine, and we did that. No commissioner, the mayor, the city administrator, nobody used any political pressure on me to make that decision. That decision was mine and mine alone in consultation with Officer Wiggins, who is the one that coordinates that event. I think most of y'all know me well enough by now that political pressure is not really something that's for me. I'm not a political individual. I'm a police chief. My responsibility is to run the police department and ensure that our community is safe and that our events that we run on behalf of the city are safe also. So
Thank
If there's
you.
any questions regarding that, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. And in reference to, and this is for Attorney Rodriguez, for threats against elected officials, almost every single person up here has gotten a threat from the board of directors of Rock Springs Ridge at some point, including the mayor, Commissioner Velazquez, former and future Commissioner Becker, as well as I'm sure Smith has received some one way or the other, and I think I'm sure you have too. So how do we handle these moving forward? I mean, it's not individuals because we are residents, it's because we're elected officials that don't agree with some of the votes.
That would be a matter referred to what Florida statutes require, mandates as to what threats against elected officials. That would then, if there is a viable threat, then that, if you believe there is a viable threat, I would advise contact the sheriff's office to conduct the proper investigation. The sheriff's office usually refers the matter to the state attorney's office and to whether or not there's a prosecutable crime.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Edward?
I have nothing else, Mayor.
Michael?
I have nothing.
You're going to have us a noise ordinance here hopefully by next.
I guess I'll be working on a noise ordinance. I'm wondering, why don't I get a nice picture next to a city attorney report on the graphics? It's just a blue screen.
All right. Let's see, Heart and Soul Music recap. We're going to probably had close to 4,000 people. Great event. I mean, they were selling the lawn seats for $81, which is amazing. And the seats down low as high as I think $200. So we had another one last weekend. I know that a couple of folks went to that one, Government Mule and Old Crow, and they said it was awesome. And then this weekend is the Jerk Fest on Sunday. So, we're starting to get notoriety as far as our amphitheater. And so some of these bigger promoters are starting to look at us as, a place to come if you're going to Central Florida, which is the whole intent. And, give credit to the rec department for, having the free concerts, which got people out that then we got recognized to bring in paid events. Next up, we've had a Walk for Freedom event. It was, it's for human trafficking. That was on Saturday, 15th. Started to get 3 odd guys, about 60 people did about a 6-block walk, outlining what we can do to help with human trafficking. Nice event, well done. Hurricane Ian debris pickup. Just want to give you kind of the update from Josh. We're day 26 since the event, day 8 of the contractor debris collection. Crowder Gulf started collecting on 10/10, and they've collected 18,197 cubic yards of storm debris. Our claw trucks, the city sanitation claw trucks, have collected 250 tons of storm debris. We've got about 60% of the first pass through the city has been completed. City crew's been working weekends to make one complete pass of the city since the storm for yard waste bags and cans and bulky household waste. So they're trying to catch up. They think by next week they should be back to normal services. Crowder will start their crews on Friday, 10/21, to remove the hanging limbs and leaning trees. The final pass for storm debris is expected to begin on 10/31. So you get 2 shots at it. And so let everybody know when it's second time around, that's it. So it'll then be subject to the normal charges. So making a lot of progress. I know it's not as fast. The one thing we've had a little concern about we have our own street sweepers which are out there, but the contractor we're trying to make sure they're up, ramping up their street sweeping as well. As you saw out front now, we just today, Rob and company got our Greetly visitor management software program in. So everybody that comes into City Hall to meet with somebody will have to put their driver's license card. It'll read it and it'll register it and it'll print them out a badge. So we won't do it for city council, DRC, or planning and zoning just because of the mass of people. We're going to have 2 machines. So normal activities because you never know who's really coming through. If they just put on John Doe or Bill Smith, and So this is going to be good. I'm glad we're doing that. The one other thing that we're going to do is, because we've had some people that have gotten through the front door that should never have gotten through. We're going to be putting a kill switch on the elevator, so that if somebody were to, because what's happened a couple times, we've had visitors kind of not bull rush, but fall right in behind an employee, get into the foyer. But with this, if we can kill the elevator, then they're stuck in that. So the folks up in the building are a little nervous and want that done. So we're just waiting on a couple of things to get that completed. So that'll be a good thing. Business tax receipt, you can see, I put in front of you what that letter looks like. I had a nice discussion with our vendor on getting that out. So I think the first ones will go out by the end of the week, but that's what the letter will look like. So if you get a call, and I even included the envelope just because we want to make sure that they don't, people don't throw it away as junk mail. So just for your information. I had a good meeting with Chris Testerman as we look at the annexation of South Apopka, and also we're looking at some annexations. Tony Benj is trying to annex a couple of pieces up for the Floridian Center that are in the county, and trying to work out a solution for that. So hopefully have that for you next meeting. There's a disaster, the SNAP program will be coming to the West Oaks Mall on Friday, October 28th. Saturday the 29th, and Sunday the 30th from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So the SNAP benefits, I think you'll just get a card, it's $50 a person, or I'm not sure what the number, but they're expecting 5,000 people per day. So anyway, that is the SNAP program will be at the West Oaks Mall Friday, October 28th, Saturday, October 29th, and Sunday, October 30th from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Next up, we brought up about November 3rd at Apopka High School will be the Expressway Authority talking about that interchange down off of Binion. And let's see, last but not least, I always like to end on a positive note. The Zumba instructor asked us to partner with the Apopka Farm Workers Association to host a Hurricane Ian disaster relief collection. They're going to be at the Fran Carlton Center from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. On Saturday, October 29th. They are going to organize a collection of items for the Apopka Farm Workers Association to take down to Fort Myers. What they're looking for is non-perishable food, baby food, clothes, blankets, personal hygiene products, first aid, and camping supplies.
And that's at Frank Carlton?
Yes, the 29th.
What time?
From 9 till 12. So you want to come out and Zumba, Roomba, whatever you'd like to do, come on out. And with that.
All right. Aren't we riding bikes on Saturday?
And yes, yes, Lake Apopka Eco Bike Ride this weekend, 22nd, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's an 8-mile bike ride. We're going to meet down at our birding park there on Lust Road. So see everybody down there on Saturday, 8 a.m. And with that,